introduced in the early years of independence with an aim of eliminating dependence on sugar importation and contributing to economic transformation in the sugar belt and country at large through the agriculture. And while acknowledging that that the sugar industry has significantly contributed to the country's national gross domestic product and became one of the largest employers, which has supported the livelihoods of many Kenyans, both directly and indirectly. It's a concern that over the last 25 years, sugarcane farming, particularly in regions like those of Western Kenya, has been declining significantly. Therefore, dipping sugar production from 600,000 metric tons per year in the 1990s to less than 300,000 metric tons in the recent years. And while noting that the decline in sugar farming has forced the local millers to operate far below the milling capacities and pushed our country to over-relying on the net importation of sugar, which will negatively impact on the balance of trade. And the decline in sugar production is attributed to the factors such as mismanagement of the sugar factories, the interference, and the unfair competition from the cheap imported sugar. It's a concern that the state-owned sugar millers like the Mumias Sugar Company and the Nzoia Sugar Company that are based in Western Kenya ceased milling while owing farmers hundreds of millions of shillings. And the government has been putting in place the strategies, policies, and regulations to define the roles of millers and major players and stakeholders in the sugar industry, that is, in a bid to revamp the sector. The acute shortage of sugar resulting from the mass abandonment of sugarcane farming continues to roll back initiatives for reviving the sugar milling, while recognizing that further investment in revamping the sugar companies before reviving the sugarcane farming would occasion loss of the invested public funds instead of yielding success. So the House resolved that the national government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, reviews the sugar development policies, that is, to provide that every investor miller sets aside funds for the development of sugarcane farming and farmers to embrace sugarcane growing and to enhance the sugarcane production in each of the respective zones. That is the policy and funding for sugarcane farming in the country. That is the motion number 24 of 2023, brought by the Honorable Peter Nabulindo, who is a member of Parliament, in a bid to revamp the sugar industry and to get back to the 600,000 metric tons per year that used to be achieved in the 1990s from the 300,000 metric tons that have been experienced in the recent years. We also have a motion on the government-to-government G2G model to acquire and supply fertilizers to farmers at subsidized cost. That is the motion number 35 of 2023, brought by the Honorable Geoffrey Iruku. Well aware that the Kenya is an agricultural-based economy, within the significant portion of its population relying on farming for their livelihoods, the quality and the quantity of crop yields in Kenya has been hampered to a largely extent by lack of adequate and quality fertilizers, that is leading to a decreased agricultural productivity and economic losses. The government has committed to improving agricultural productivity through various initiatives, including provincial of subsidized fertilizers. It's a concern that the cost, quantity, and the quality of fertilizers at the cost of production of food crops and cash crops, that is including coffee, tea, miraa, has increased due to a number of factors. Among them, the high cost of fertilizers due to the markup by private suppliers of fertilizers. It's a further concern that the threat to food security is a threat to the national security. And while recognizing that the government-to-government model has been noted to lower costs of products, it's a concern that there are countries willing to enter into a G2G agreement, appreciating that government-to-government have proven to be effective in provision of services that have a direct impact on citizens' livelihoods, including the cost of living, such as the supply of fertilizers, particularly in countries with similar agricultural condition as Kenya. And therefore, this House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development and its agencies, adopts the government-to-government model in acquisition and supply of fertilizers by identifying potential partner countries and have surplus and quality fertilizers, and a comprehensive program for the government-to-government, that is G2G, acquisition and distribution of fertilizers through, among the Kenyan Farmers Associations, that is KFA, the Kenya Tea Development Agencies, the KTDA, the Coffee Board of Kenya, the Kenya Planters Corporations Union, KPCU, the Kenya Grain Growers Corporation Unit, and the Pyrethrum Board of Kenya for the increased agricultural productivity. That is the motion number 35 of 2023 on the government-to-government model to acquire and supply fertilizers to farmers at a subsidized cost. That is a motion brought by the Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, the Member of Parliament. We also have the bill on the National Assembly and Demonstration Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2024, still brought by the Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, the Member of Parliament. This bill is in its first reading. And the principal objective of this bill is to provide a legal framework for the regulation of assemblies and demonstrations. And the quorum has been achieved, and I now take you to the House. Let's
Next order.
Listen in.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Deputy Leader of the Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, August 7, 2024, morning sitting. Report of the Auditor General and financial statement of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, for the year ended 30th June 2023, and the certificates therein in respect of the following constituencies: Centro Imenti, number 1, 2, Cherangani, 3, Endebess, 4, Igembe North, 5, Igembe South, 6, Isiolo South, 7, Kacheliba, 8, Kapenguria, 9, Kaminini, 10, Loima, 11, Mara, 12, Manyata, 13, Mbere South, 14, North Hor, 15, North Imenti, 16, Runyenjes, 17, Saboti, 18, South Imenti, 19, Tarbaj, 20, Tharaka, 21, Tigania West, 22, Turkana Central, 23, Turkana East, 24, Turkana North, 25, Turkana South, and 26, Turkana West. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Majority Leader. I'm informed the Committee on Appointments. Have you laid? Yes, I'm informed, honorable members, that the Committee on Appointments intends to lay their report on the vetting of the nominees for cabinet secretaries, they will be permitted to do so in the course of business this morning. I note they are not yet with us, so prepare. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Do we have the Honorable Mishimboko? The Honorable Mishimboko is engaged in the Committee on Appointments. A statement is deferred to a future date. The Honorable Owen Bayer. The Honorable Owen Bayer. The Honorable Owen Bayer is also in the Committee on Appointments, vetting cabinet secretaries. His statement request is deferred. The Honorable Martin Owino. Now, the Honorable Martin Owino had also requested that his statement be deferred to the future. And the statement is accordingly deferred. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2022. Question to be put and third reading.
Honorable members, I put the question that the House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2022. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. The mover of the bill to move third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2022, to be now read a third time. Honorable Speaker, this is a bill that will ensure that people who retire in this country get their pension in a period of not more than 90 days, and that this will solve the problem that we'll be having with our pensioners, Honorable Speaker. And I would also want to request the Honorable Member of the Honorable Manduku to second.
Honorable Manduku.
I second the motion. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2022, be now read a third time. Is it the mood of the House that we put the question? And honorable members, I now put the question. I've confirmed that we have quorum present in the House for purposes of making a decision. I therefore put the question that the Pensions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2022, be now read a third time. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the Pensions Act and for connected purposes. Order number 9, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023. Question to be put.
Honorable members, I put the question that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on the consideration of the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, up to clause 48, and seeks leave to sit again. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 10, the Assembly and Demonstration Bill, National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to give effect to Article 37 of the Constitution to provide for the regulation of the right of assembly and demonstration and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House.
SB upstanding members.
Honorable members, we are in the Committee of the Whole House to continue consideration of the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023. I would like to first confirm whether the chair is in the House. The co-sponsor, the Honorable Mary Emase. Honorable members, is the Vice Chair Committee on Agriculture in the House? Any member of the Agriculture Committee? Any member of the Agriculture Committee? Honorable Ekomas Mutuse, because he also has interest in this bill. Honorable members, please allow the House a few minutes so that we can consult. Honorable members, we are trying to reach out to the Honorable Mary Emase, who is in the Committee on Appointments, and in a few minutes, I'll be able to guide the House on how to proceed. How do we proceed? Any member would have done it very well. These are new clauses.
Those are the only ones.
Hizo za Mutuse, chair hapo anataka. Kama angekuwa sasa, lakini Mishi alikuwa ameshaamua. So what do? We reorganize. Okay, tutoke hapa, nani akuje reorganize.
We defer the current one, eh?
Yes.
Then the next one is?
So niandikieni what to say, because we need to report.
Many people are not around, and we might struggle. I understand.
So as to avoid the house being idle, maybe we can give you the mic.
Anza kuongea tu.
Okay, to general members are maybe in other activities, so that at least the house is as we see what to
People
do.
already know.
Yeah, can just give the majority deputy whip to say something. What we do here.
Lakini akishasema tutasema aje. Okay, majority.
Yes.
Deputy Whip.
Chair, as members settle and prepare themselves to participate and debate, I know this morning we have so many things happening. The vetting committee is very busy because they are meeting this morning, and I'm sure they will join us a little later, but currently they are busy, and that carries quite a number of members, and we have very important matters to discuss or debate on our order paper, and that is why I want to request the members to be patient as we reorganize so that we can continue. And if you are a member of Agriculture Committee, you can also come in so that we can deliberate on the current order paper, what we have to discuss, so that we proceed. But just to note, important to note is that we were to go on recess from tomorrow, but we are doing it now in the next week, Thursday. That day will be our final day because we have serious matters to deliberate on. So it is important for members to know that 16th is when we will be on recess. Meanwhile, anybody who has anything on the order paper, because we have quite some motions, and especially this morning is members' motion. So if you have any motion on the order paper, just be ready so that as we progress, then you can be able to bring on your motion, and then the members can debate on, so that at least we will be able to progress. And I also want to encourage members, because this is a very busy morning, please make sure that you remain in the chambers so that we can have the numbers that we require for us to transact business. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Majority Whip.
You have to wait. I'm here, ask if there's any other member of the committee who has come.
I would like to find out whether we have any member of Agriculture Committee in the House. Any member of Agriculture Committee, please approach the table if you are in the house. Any member of Agriculture Committee.
Wacha tu tuadjourn. Sasa itakuwa 96. Can any member even speak? Cotton industry. Hakuna any member who can keep us busy. Hakuna a member who can move the mic from the table. Ndio. Tunataka kuadjourn.
You can give the deputy majority leader so that she can request us to adjourn this debate and ask you to report progress to the House.
Yes, Deputy Majority.
Yes, Honorable Chair, because Honorable Mary Emase is a member of vetting committee, and we also seem not to have any member of Agriculture Committee here. I wish to suggest that we postpone this and also request you to report on this matter so that we can postpone it and then we progress. You are the only.
She can put the question. You just put the question. What does
You can just say that in the circumstances we are not able to proceed with the job for committee, and so I put the question that the committee do
report progress? Do adjourn.
Honorable Charles Nguna.
Chair, based on what has been explained and based on the standing orders, Madam Chair, I wish to suggest that we can defer this business, we move to the next order, based on the mood of the House, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I want to support what the Deputy Majority Whip has said. Kenyans are aware that the issue of vetting the CSEs ended last week, and now the committee is in the process of finalizing their report so that it's tabled in the House this afternoon. And the Honorable Emase, who is the co-sponsor of this important bill, is part of the appointment committee. So on those bases, it's not possible that she is here and also in the other meeting. So on those bases, Honorable Chair, I would recommend that this matter is pushed to another day so that we allow the next bills to be debated. I submit, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makali Mulu. Honorable Beatrice Elachi.
Thank you, Chair. While I agree, Chair, this is a very important bill. And it's a bill that needs to unlock many regions in terms of cotton. You remember last time, this is a bill that we ended up at, I think, clause 49 is where we are supposed to start. And I can see in the House, we have Honorable Mutuse, who has amendments in the same bill. And I believe, since he has interest, he can proceed with the bill so that we finalize, Madam Chair. Because even the next motion that comes in, Madam Chair, we will push because it is for a member who is also in the appointments committee. We shall have the same. We'll start arguing, and I think Kenyans are just watching and wondering. So if people are in the appointments committee, the House doesn't proceed with other businesses. So I plead, but it is to the chair to decide.
We had consulted the Honorable Motuse, and we have agreed, but I would like to hear the voice of the Honorable Kagongo. Didn't you want to say something?
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, just wanted to support the Deputy Majority Whip, the Honorable Naomi, and also what the Honorable Makali Mulu and my other colleagues have said, that because the owner of the bill is not around, Madam Chair, and you know, the Honorable Emase understands her bill very well. She's in a very good position to prosecute it very well. Now that she's not in and she's still going on with the vetting committee, Honorable Chair, so I'm seeking that you defer, and if there is another business, this House, we can proceed to the next business until when the Honorable Emase is around, that we can prosecute this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Mutuse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I wish to apologize to the House because I arrived a little late when my matter had already been called. But I also agree with the wisdom of the House that in the absence of the sponsor of the bill, and it is a warranted absence because she's in another business of the House, it is not in order that the matter proceeds. Madam Chair, this is also a bill that the chair of the Agriculture Committee is critical in terms of what we are supposed to do. And as such, while I have an amendment that we have proposed to the bill, and the amendment we have been discussing with the chair and the sponsor of the bill, it will not be prudent for me to move the amendments without the chair and without the sponsor of the bill, and therefore I support that we defer the matter to another date because deferral is a normal procedure of this House. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I have heard what the Honorable Charles Ngosi Anguna has said, the Honorable Beatrice Elachi, the Honorable Makalimulu, the Honorable Mutuse, who has a lot of interest in this bill, and honorable members, the Deputy Majority Leader, the Deputy Majority Whip also made very strong comments, also indicating where these members who are not in the House are, and they are engaged in very serious business of this House. Therefore, honorable members, I put the question that the committee do adjourn to report progress pursuant to Standing Order 96. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Honorable members, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that pursuant to Standing Order number 96, the Committee of the Whole House adjourned its consideration of Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, and seeks leave to sit again. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Members, I propose the question that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Honorable members, I can observe the House from where I'm sitting. I can observe the house from where I'm sitting. Let me sit back and check whether we have quorum again. Yeah, so I see Honorable Mutunga is now here. But Honorable Mutunga, this is a house of rules. It's a house of precedents. You can be sure we don't have reverse gear. Yeah, so I will call the next order to be called for good reasons.
Order number 12, motion, policy for the provision of mental health services in all healthcare facilities. Resumption of debate.
The Honorable Beatrice Elachi want to speak to this particular motion. This one had been moved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while I speak on this motion, I just want to say this, which is important to go on record. That it is important for us to appreciate some of the things we are doing. And I'm hoping it's not on the chair, but also the whole committee. It is good if something is on the order paper, the committee to just, not the chair alone, because he's not responsible, but for the rest. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, allow me to support this motion on policy for the provision of mental health care services in all healthcare facilities in the country. Mr. Speaker, while I appreciate the Honorable Mishi for bringing this very important motion to this House, and looking at how our young people right now are really struggling, and not just young people, Mr. Speaker. I think every person today in their families, they have someone who is going through some mental health challenges, and not just for anything else but stress. We've developed stress, and I know when you look at how life is today, many families will tell you why the young people are on the streets is because of stress, and in that stress, it pulls into that mental health challenge. Even in our ministries, and I remember when I was in the ministry, we had developed now a policy after COVID that we shall have a department for public servants so that they are able to go and just go for counseling, try and check yourself. That is why in Kenya, we have very many people suffering from chronic diseases. And the reason why we have these chronic diseases is because of stress. And we've come to realize as a country, it's not just about money. It is just that social setup. What is best for someone to be in a mental care, to find yourself without stress? Many of us, I know, will say, oh, we will need the money. You can have the money and you still have a problem on mental. And so to put it in every healthcare that we have, in fact, we have community health workers, Speaker, who we can train. Let them go in the homes. Let them visit homes. And these homes, when you start hearing someone how they are speaking, you realize why they are developing and finding themselves into mental challenges or disturbances or illness is because of just a few things that we are unable. That's why even our children, I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, there is a young girl who will be buried maybe this weekend. And this young girl, the mother and the father were separated, yes, but at the same time had everything. But because of that, this girl went through a mental challenge until she decided to commit suicide when she's a university student. Today, Mr. Speaker, when you look at our universities, we've decided to take all the hostel. You know the days of privilege where you would walk into a university and it's the first time you are eating sausage? You know, it was in that, you know, there was some courtesy of now training you that when you are in this environment, you can sit on the table, you can have a meal, because maybe I've come from a family where we didn't even have the table to eat. Today we have subjected our students in an environment. When I look at Nairobi University, definitely you'll have mental stress because the hostel itself does not have curtains. The paint that was there during the time we were going to university is still the one. Nobody bothers to say you can even make it an environment. As much as the challenges are there, paint for them. Make it look a place where they'll feel, I have changed my life from the rural. I am now in a university. That is why today you find them wearing Crocs. Not that they don't want to wear shoes. They feel it's a lifestyle, fine. But look at the campuses that we have. Why won't you find your children into a mental stress? That we don't even want to make for them a place where we can call a dining, a kitchen, where I can enter with my 5 shillings, but afford the food and bring all the women who sell on the road that same food and tell them, we have now made a modern dining. You will be the one selling from the dining for safeguarding our students. Today, that is why you'll find some of them now running all over looking to how to survive. Why wouldn't they go through mental stress? We don't even have a health facility in the same universities to just help our students. And it has to change. The same person who is building the hostels, Kwetu and where, would have been given land in the university and be told, build it here. Let the students say, within the security vicinity of the university, but we shall have safeguarded many things. We've left them. Our university students from home is living in Githurai. Then the next thing, my son is in the cold in the morgue. I cannot question the university. No. As much as we are talking about this, Mr. Speaker, we must go back to where we started. We must bring relevance of why I am a student at the university. What is this that I have come to learn? How do I become a better leader, Mr. Speaker, if indeed I have gone through that hard life? How? How will I know goodness for my country? And that is what we are facing. That is why most of them, when you see them in the house, they will be on the phone, even your son, even my son, my daughter, because he or she feels, Mom, you're so busy. That is why when you listen to them at Eldoret in the music festival, we have very painful poems that are being said in that. You wonder, where are we as parents? Who are we? Look at the children that we gave birth in 2008. If you want to know, we really need these mental facilities and healthcare within our healthcare. Any Form 4 student today is a child that was born within 2008. You remember that time we had post-election violence? We have come, the same children, were the same children we decided we shall give them free laptops. We never gave them, Mr. Speaker. The same children came and find themselves in COVID, where they stayed home. There was COVID. The same children have gone for their school for 3 years, plus the days they will be for exams. I think some will be 70 days, some 77. So it means I have done my Form 4, 3 years, 77 days. I have finished my Form 4. Why wouldn't they have that challenge? That is where the government and the Ministry of Education should start thinking how they are doing the examination papers, so that we don't find our children feeling very disgruntled that it was during our time we had COVID, during our time we had floods, during our time we have a campaign where people did campaign and we were at home. All those things bring mental stress. And for us to change that, as I finalize, Mr. Speaker, is that we must support Honorable Mishi and to urge the national government through the Ministry of Health to collaborate with the counties and develop a policy to integrate mental health services in all. I would say the Ministry of Education should pick this and do it better for our children. With those few remarks.
Honorable Beatrice Elachi, I thought this House had ceased to urge government. We had resolved that this House should be resolving or deciding. Why are we urging government?
I think, Speaker, you will forgive the House and we will request in a very polite way the technical team when they are processing to ensure the word resolve and indeed, we must resolve as a House that the Ministry of Health will collaborate with the counties to ensure we develop the policy. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
The honorable members, for those who do not have this motion, I would request you look at it. It's one of the most important the House could be debating at this point in time. It's one motion that should engage the House very, very deeply and very actively. Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to also support this motion by the Honorable Mishi. Honorable Speaker, before I say anything, I wish to apologize to this House profusely for the failure this morning for the Committee of the Whole House to take place. Honorable Speaker, I was at a radio station called Ghetto FM. I've rushed from that radio station to this place, but I thought at least the sponsor of the motion would be there or any member of the committee would be there. Honorable Speaker, we have a problem where we have committees and members are not really committed. And I'm not trying to accuse any of my members. So I do not apologize for any of my members, but I think it is important to have committees where people sit and listen and hear what is happening so that they can also take over just in case the chair is not there. The committee is not the chair is the chair of the committee, and therefore the committee should be held inclusively responsible. Every member of the committee is responsible for what has happened this morning. I was at the radio station, it can be verified. I left that radio station, Honorable Speaker, when I got a call from the House that this motion is done before the House, and nobody is there. At least I expected the sponsor to be there. And it's only about 3 or 4 items that are remaining. Honorable Speaker, I seek indulgence of the House to give us some more time to clear this particular issue so that the Kenyans do not suffer as a result of failures on our side. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this particular motion. This is a very, very important motion in the sense that it basically is really a right. It is a right to Kenyans to be given an opportunity to acquire the highest standards of health. And, Honorable Speaker, mental health is fundamental. Mental health is key to life. If somebody has a problem with the mental faculties, Honorable Speaker, then such a person may not function well. It takes a lot of time for us sometimes to even diagnose mental health cases. And the reason is that there are no provisions or there are no clear modalities of identifying these cases at very early stages. And that is why it makes a lot of sense for us to consider as a House and pass that mental health services should be devolved to the smallest unit of health, to the smallest health facility, so that it can, identification or diagnosis can be done early. Honorable Speaker, they say that every marketplace has a mental case. This is not really prestigious to say. I don't think it is every marketplace in the world. We might need to narrow ourselves to whether it is every marketplace probably in Kenya or probably every marketplace in Africa. I don't think it is every marketplace in the world, because we've gone to places in the world and we've not found mentally ill people in those places. We may have found destitutes living in those towns, but we've not found mentally challenged people. Honorable Speaker, this is a dimension of health that we need to take seriously as a country. We need to take it seriously because when somebody is mentally ill, such a person is not able to take care of themselves. Such a person is not able to take decisions that will help them to live like normal human beings. Such a person do not have the ability to manage their own affairs. And in view of being unable to manage one's own affairs, it makes one subhuman. And, Honorable Speaker, it is odd and wrong for us to watch as our brothers and sisters and those kin, our kin, are to be living like subhuman beings because we've not taken care of the precautionary measures. Here we are saying that it is important for a country like Kenya to consider investing in having diagnostic facilities, in having some level treatment at the very local levels of health facilities. Honorable Speaker, it is in record that not all mental cases can go to the extreme. Some mental cases can be taken care of. We have our old hospital called Madari Hospital where people are taken and sometimes they heal, they get completely healed. It means, therefore, it's a situation that can be contained. It's medically possible to contain this particular situation if it is diagnosed early. And, Honorable Speaker, there are stages upon which probably, this condition manifests. It starts with psychological challenges. And if psychological challenges are not diagnosed early enough and addressed early enough, they may escalate to serious mental health breakdown. Honorable Speaker, this motion needs to be considered very positively in this House to ensure that Kenya becomes an example of a country that takes care of people. Kenya becomes a country where the sovereignty of the people and the dignity of the people is observed, to have them checked at any one given time whenever the people who live close to them or their kin realize that there is a disconnect between the functional ability of the person or the verbal coordination of the person and what is expected. It is possible for almost anybody to know that one is getting disrupted, is getting cognitive dissonance, inability to be able to coordinate what one says and what one does. Any form of dissonance can be identified early enough, and therefore it is possible for somebody to be treated. Since it is treatable to a large extent, Honorable Speaker, and we know people who have been going for mental, curative medicine for a very long time, and they have lived a more or less normal life, then it will be good for us to consider devolving this particular function to the smallest unit possible so that you can, first of all, diagnose early and then treat the cases so that we do not get our people going beyond, living beyond the level of concern or the level of human being, as it were. Honorable Speaker, having seen those few remarks, I wish to support that this House passes this particular motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, we recently lost a very hard working registry. Madam Monica Kivuti, short health facilities be established in all healthcare facilities. I want to give the chance now to the Honorable Rachel Nyamai as a public health practitioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I will first of all congratulate the Honorable Mishi Mboko in absentia. She's very busy dealing with the matter of appointments committee, but she has brought us a very important matter that we need to deal with, matter of this motion on mental health, ensuring that we have at least a unit of taking care of people with mental issues at the county level. Honorable Speaker, The Constitution gives us the assurance that everyone should have the highest right to health care, the highest level of support being guaranteed by our Constitution. This may not be the situation at the moment, but the country still endeavors to get there. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Mishi Mboko is calling upon this House to push for having a possibility of people with mental situations to be handled at our dispensaries, at our level 3 and level 4 facilities that are in our counties. And I must say from the onset, I really support this. Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that we used to have matters of mental health with a few people when we were. Today, we have more and more cases of mental health. When you go to our local villages, you hear people saying, this person is cheesy, Mr. Speaker, which is a very unfortunate word, Mr. Speaker, because some of these people are young people who may have gotten into drugs, others who may have been disturbed because of one situation or another, others are disturbed because of the economic situation in the country, others are disturbed because of the family situation, and it is a matter that we have to raise to the occasion as this House to make sure that we have someone who can identify from the lowest level of care, someone who can diagnose. Even if they cannot do treatment at that level, at least they will be able to refer to the next facility. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to also say that I agree with this motion that we need to push training. You realize that not many people would like to be trained in this line of psychiatric care. It is very important that our young people see the need. And the only reason they'll see the need is that they need to identify that there is a possibility of being hired, not only at Kenyatta National Hospital, not only at MTRH, but not only at the national level or the regional big hospitals, but that they'll be hired from the lowest facility. So I encourage young people to get trained so that we have people who can take care of our people. Honorable Speaker, you have just raised a very important matter, that we have a magistrate seated on her seat. And we have a situation of a police officer shooting the magistrate. And it is extremely unfortunate that she died. But, Mr. Speaker, why is this happening? This person may have had mental stress. As we sit in this House, we do not know what that person was going through. But maybe the people who are around him may have observed something. And if this situation was taken earlier, it may have been addressed before the magistrate was shot. Mr. Speaker, we have seen cases of young people throwing themselves from the 4th floor, from the 3rd floor, and dying. And more happening on a daily basis. And Mr. Speaker, it is time that the Ministry of Health got serious with this and given us the statistics of people who have committed suicide within the age or below 35. Because maybe we are dealing with a more serious crisis than we know in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we take up this matter, that we have people from the lowest facility where we can have people diagnosed. Mr. Speaker, it is not only among young people. Honorable Speaker, I'm taking care of my mother who is over 75 years, and I'm dealing with dementia. And I know that if members of this House were given an opportunity to tell their stories, or people in our villages to tell their stories, after dealing with non-communicable diseases, high blood pressure, blood sugar, and all that. Mr. Speaker, because people are living longer, now we are dealing with cases of dementia. And Mr. Speaker, I believe that it is important for anybody, for example, my people, the people I serve in this House, from Motomo, from Ekanga, from Moda, from Kanziko, from Ekoda, from Kamotei, to be able to walk to a health facility in Ekoda and present their mothers with dementia, and that they should be handled from that facility. So this is a serious matter, Honorable Speaker, and it is a matter that we cannot ignore as a House. Mr. Speaker, poor diagnosis is a bigger challenge. That people are being locked up in the cells because a young man came with a disturbed, this person is throwing stones, and when they are seen by the chief and assistant chief, then they are taken to the police station. When they are taken to the police station, then the police station puts them in the cell, and they are staying in cells for 6 months. Someone with mental health challenge, Honorable Speaker, and is being locked up in cells for 6 months can only get worse. So, Mr. Speaker, this misdiagnosis can only be handled when we have people at the local facility. And these are the people who will be able to tell the police officers that what we are dealing here may not be a crime issue, but it is a health issue. Honorable Speaker, people with mental health challenges have chronic pain. You realize that someone has so much pain and they do not understand themselves, so they do not even have the ability to go and present themselves to a health facility. So their healthcare seeking behavior changes and they are not able to take care of themselves. And Honorable Speaker, this also affects the people who are taking care of them. So you realize that you have a sick person with a mental issue who is being taken care by people who do not understand that they have mental health challenges, and then it becomes a circle. And this can be handled if this motion is passed in this House. It is only urging, but I hope we get to a level of not only urging, but an implementation stage where things will happen. Mr. Speaker, if there is misdiagnosis of people with health issues, mental health issues, you realize that people become inactive. And you find someone seated in their houses from morning to evening, not having done anything. Others locking themselves in their bedrooms and ensuring that it is dark the whole day. Lack of activity, lack of development of the country. So we cannot ignore it because mental health problems are causing inactivity. Then this inactivity brings lack of development of the country. So we cannot ignore this anymore. Honorable Speaker, we will ensure that more people are not incarcerated, more people are taken care of, our people are living better quality life, our people are taken care by people who are properly trained to take care of them. And Honorable Speaker, we reduce the level of motivation. Mr. Speaker, you'll be surprised that even where we sit, we could be having people with mental challenges that have not been addressed. People who are not motivated at all to do anything, Mr. Speaker. So what Honorable Mishi is calling for is that it is extremely important that we have that we have people who are trained to take care of mentally health patients from the lowest to the highest level. This is not a national government matter. It is a matter that concerns the national government and the counties. So Mishi Mboko is calling for a level of collaboration and integration. So, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me a chance to make a comment. I fully support this motion. God bless you.
Thank you, the Honorable Dr. Nyamai. Honorable members, before we continue, allow me to do this while standing. Let me welcome the following institutions of learning to the House of Parliament. Number one is ELCK, Iteiro Girls Primary Boarding and Junior Secondary School in Bonchari constituency in Kisii County. The second institution, Zogango Primary and Junior School pupils and students from Karachuonyo constituency in Homa Bay County. That's my home county. That is why I'm standing as I welcome them, honorable members. The students with their teachers or instructors are welcome to the National Assembly to observe the proceedings in their learning tour. Why is the Honorable Charles Onchoki, the MP for Bonchari, lawyer and finance mind from the Central Bank to Parliament, do say something and welcome both your pupil students and the ones from Ogango Primary in Karachuonyo constituency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity on behalf of the House to welcome Iterio boarding, primary boarding, which is in my constituency, and Oganga from Karachonyo. Itiero Girls is one of the top performing schools in the country. I also dare say, Mr. Speaker, that that is a school where my wife went for elementary education. So for both schools and your staff, this is the National Assembly where the members of Parliament who represent the people from all the constituencies all over the country come to make laws, appropriate resources, carry out oversight functions as required by the Constitution. So you have a very rare opportunity to come and learn what goes on in the country. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to add that Parliament maybe should open its doors. We have an open day when many more Kenyans can come and see what goes on. So for the schools, Itieri is just one of the 86 schools from Bonchari that have had this opportunity to come and see what goes on here. You're most welcome, learn as much as possible, interact with the members and other staff of the Parliament as much as possible, so that when you go back home, you can share your experiences on what goes on here in the House. Most welcome, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to welcome the two schools.
The Member of Parliament for Kisii County, in 1 minute.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also excited to see our learners. And when I joined school and I knew how to read and write, there are professors who came to our school and told us, Mr. Speaker, the beautiful thing about learning is that when you learn and you grasp everything, no one can take it from you. At least it taught me to learn and believed that if it's something that no one can take from me. My county, Kisii and Nyamira, there is this thing of FGM. It can be done on you by force, by fire. Someone can take something from you. You know what I'm talking about. But with education, no one can take it from you. It is yours and yours forever. So grab it, stay with it, and own it. Welcome to Bunge, and you are our leaders tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Dr. Naomi Wako, the Deputy Majority Whip in the National Assembly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important motion that is being debated, as I also congratulate Honorable Mishi Boko for coming up with this motion that is touching on the lives of many families in our country today. And I congratulate her and pray that soon and very soon this will take or get the national attention, and that anybody who is suffering from mental health will get the necessary attention. Honorable Speaker, it is true that it is the right of everybody to get the healthcare services and also all the health services that we need in our nation. But looking at the mental care, it has been something that has affected our country in a huge way, but very minimal attention has been given to it. In our country today, many people go through mental health as a result of the challenges that people go through. Even our young people in schools, the high school students, majority of them go through a lot of stress, and even the primary school, because of the syllabus, the hardship, the challenges their parents face at home, the marital problems in families have caused a lot of stress and mental health problem to many people in our country. And that is why I support this motion and suggest that even in our schools, even in our primary schools, counseling the young people, and also having a department that takes care of mental health should be established, so that in case of anything, then any child can be given that attention. Honorable Speaker, for those who are going to high school or who are already in high school, we know very well that our young people, and especially the teenagers, are going through a lot of stress because of the life that we are in today. And that is why even in our high schools, we need to have a department that takes care of our young people, and especially girls' school, whereby we see that many girls go through a lot of things. Others have gone through FGM, others early pregnancies, others have problems with their parents who have separated, and they need to be just supported mentally so that they can stand on their own and be healthy. Honorable Speaker, when you look at our police officers, many have committed suicide. Many have even finished their whole family, and at the end of the day, committed suicide. Just because of the stress that they are in, and maybe they are not able to meet their expectations, they are not able to feed their families, or they are not able to progress as they want to progress. And that is why many people just take bullet and they finish their lives. But if we have systems in place, if we put measures in place so that our people can be taken care of mentally, then we will have that very healthy families, very healthy society, and we will be able to enjoy the life as God has given us. Looking at our KDF also, Kenya Defense Force, Honorable Speaker, we all know very well that they also go through so many things. And we know that they have people who give them a bit of counseling. We know that they have people who help them in different ways, but having a department that really takes care of mental health, then it can be a good thing. Again, resolving that the national government, through the Ministry of Health, takes care of health care, and also going into the counties. Because even in counties, I think we can have one headquarter at the county headquarter, but then have satellite centers where people can be taken care of. Like my county is one of the largest. In fact, it is the largest. And you can travel for 300 kilometers before you get to the headquarters. So it is only good and practical if we have satellites, centers in every constituency and in every maybe dispensary, so that Kenyans will be taken care of, Kenyans can be guided, and people can be healthy mentally and also physically. Honorable Speaker, this is a good motion that we all need to support, and as a nation, we need to give it necessary attention, and if there is any funds that is needed, we need to set it aside so that we can take care of our people, because a healthy nation will always be a good thing for any government. And even if we want to promote people or enhance our education system, even if we want to employ people, even if people get, good businesses, without good mental health, we cannot be able to progress and achieve all our goals. And that is why I urge honorable members to seriously contribute on this, and also make sure that whatever we are requesting is done and that it is implemented for the benefit of our nation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Charles Onchoke, make your contributions to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make a contribution to this very important motion. First, I want to commend the sponsor of this motion. That is timely, that is the correct thing to do. The mental illness manifests itself in many ways. Like one of my colleagues said here, you go to any place, we're finding people with mental illnesses. But the problem is sometimes we don't have the ability to even recognize those who are suffering from this illness. Just something personal to me, Mr. Speaker. My aunt at home, one boy walks around, roams around, and nobody knows what it is, but I think it's a manifestation of mental illness. So Right there is a problem with the society, the manner in which we treat people with this type of illness. It's inhumane. We discriminate against them. We do all manner of things that are not right to help these people. The support systems are lacking. The resources to take care of these patients are lacking in our institutions of health care. And they are normally handled with a lot of discrimination. The diagnosis is poor, like I said earlier, and the budget is normally very low. We don't have the personnel that is trained to take care of these cases. And you're going to find people of different ages, different faiths, different races suffering from this illness. So it's a disease, it's an illness that affects everybody, every human person at every age. So, and from the numbers on this paper, about 10% of the world population seems to be affected by the illness. So it's high time that we came together and put a mechanism that deals with this illness in our health facilities. This illness affects productivity. If it affects our productivity, it means our labor force is undermined and the numbers that are working, or they're not working properly. You're going to find them in every profession, among the lawyers, among the members of parliament probably, among the teachers, among the police officers, the doctors, across the board. Can you imagine being taken care of by a doctor who has a mental illness and nobody knows about it? So I even, Mr. Chairman, want to suggest that for certain professions, maybe it would be important for us to require that people have some voluntary diagnosis for mental illnesses so that we don't subject our lives to unnecessary dangers. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this motion. Let's move on with it. The government to put in place the policy and the resources that every health facility you walk into, you're able to get the help you need if you're suffering from this problem, or those who are walking out there with the illness without the awareness. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Charlson Choke. The Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi, MP for Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to congratulate Honorable Mishiboko for bringing up this motion. Mr. Speaker, what Honorable Mishiboko is asking us as a House is that the national government, through the Ministry of Health, to collaborate with the county government to develop a policy integrating mental health care services in our health care facilities in the country. That is the motion. Mr. Speaker, how do we develop this policy of collaboration? Mr. Speaker, we must understand why Ms. Bogo is bringing this motion. Why develop a policy on collaboration? First, Mr. Speaker, there are very few people who understand what mental health care are. Mr. Speaker, the policy needs to be guided that we have the capacity to understand and to know the type of standards that the policy will be addressing. Mr. Speaker, there are many things that me as a person I don't know, because mental health manifests itself in the mood, the thinking, and the behavior. And that brings in the question, do we have the capacity or the ability to understand various moods, various thinkings, and various behaviors of our people? And that's why we need now to have seriously trained personnel and adequate and evenly distributed throughout the country. Mr. Speaker, these disorders interfere with the person's ability on their daily life. That's very important for us to know. Mr. Speaker, the common mental illness includes depression, It includes anxiety disorders. It includes psychopharmacology. It includes eating disorders and addictive behaviors. The question is, do we have the capacity as a nation to know and to diagnose these conditions? That's what the motion is all about. Because you cannot develop a policy without understanding why the problem. Mr. Speaker, there are so many causes of mental health, which includes but not limited to, Mr. Speaker, genetic. Mr. Speaker, it includes biological, environmental, and psychological factors. Mr. Speaker, and then we address the issue. How do we treat? How do we interfere? How do we arrest these conditions? Mr. Speaker, they require medication, they require therapy, they require support. Right from the family unit all the way to institutions. And that brings the issue. Do we have adequate facilities? Do we have facilities that are even distributed throughout the country? And that's why it's very important for the national government to work in collaboration with the county government. Mr. Speaker, if you walk today to any medical facility in Kenya, even Kenyatta National Hospital, they have what's called the first-hand treatment, but the continuing medication and therapy can only be found at Mathare Hospital. Mr. Speaker, mental health is another entity like any other. That meaning, if you walk to any health facility, you are going to meet people waiting for you if you have mental illness. That's what the policy we are being called as a house to develop. Mr. Speaker, what is lacking in Kenya? Mr. Speaker, we have no data. The world, through World Health Organization, has said 10% of the total world population have mental illnesses. But we don't know the percentage of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we have to do research and a deliberate research. The national government working in collaboration with the county government. Of these illnesses per region, Mr. Speaker, per age, Mr. Speaker, per gender, Mr. Speaker, per occupation, Mr. Speaker, and even in terms of family status. Because mental illness is not confined to the poor. But if we do research, we will be able how to react. So that now, if you get training, if you get distribution of medicine, therapies, and all those other factors. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are symptoms that we know of. Mr. Speaker, when you see there is a high level of suicide, which is happening right now, people shooting other people carelessly, people roaming in town without doing anything much. There are so many divorces happening, Mr. Speaker. There is a lot of fighting in families, Mr. Speaker. These are all symptoms of a society. You may think that members of parliament are very sane people, but I can tell you for a fact, some of us are mad here. In the sense that madness is not being mad, but you see the way we speak, the way we react. Mr. Speaker, that's what I'm saying.
The Honorable Elisha, what is out of order?
Mr. Speaker, is it right for the Honorable Nidikiri to indicate and say that members of parliament are mad? Is it the right language to use in a honorable house?
Mr. Speaker, I don't think I said that.
Honorable Rindikiri Yoda, I've heard you to say that mental illness can reach anybody, and not even members of parliament are excluded. Unless I didn't hear you right. Could you explain yourself?
it was very, I know I have as my senior on the other side, the lawyer, but I said could be. I said could be. Could be does not mean you are. Could be.
Borindikiri, you want to be informed by the Honorable Julius Unkuli?
He's my friend.
Yeah, you can inform Honorable Indikiri.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member is quite in order because the statistics in Kenya is that out of 4 people, at least one has a mental illness. And here, Mr. Speaker, we are about 300 people.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Senior, for that. I have no ill intentions whatsoever. And you know how I respect. I'm a senior. I respect everybody. I said could be. But of course, we went to different schools, Mr. Speaker. I don't know, my friend, which school you went. I went to one of the famous schools, male school. I think you went to Nyanga Boys, sorry, for him to understand that terminology. Mr. Speaker, on a light note.
Honorable Elisha, you are contesting even to Nia girls.
No, I didn't. I said on a light note.
I have 2 master's degrees that you don't have. One from USIU and one from University of Nairobi. I have 2 bachelors that you don't have. One from University of Kenyatta, one from Belgium. I'm sure you ordinarily went to school locally here in the country. Thank you.
Honorable Elisha, today you have forgotten the fact that from your constituency, people don't just throw stones anyhow, because the stones may hit professors. Yeah, but I want to assure you the schools Honorable Indikiri went to are equally some of our greatest schools in the region and the country. Yeah, Honorable Indikiri, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, what I know is that there are those who buy degrees. There are those ones, Mr. Speaker, if you go to the lecons of the University of Nairobi.
Honorable Indikiri, would you go back to the motion, okay, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this motion is very critical because it calls upon us to put money, which we need to address in the policy. Mr. Speaker, we need to have facilities, and how those facilities, Mr. Speaker, will be managed. Mr. Speaker, we need to continuously interact with the international communities on various ways of sorting out this menace of mental health. Mr. Speaker, this country today, majority of our young people, and not only the young people because of the economic status or situation in the country, it is affecting our population. Mr. Speaker, as we fight drug and alcohol abuse in this country, Mr. Speaker, we must start addressing the issues of engaging our population to the mood, to create a mood of working. Mr. Speaker, some of the known causes of these problems is economic problems of our country. There are a lot of pressures in life. Mr. Speaker, the lifestyles. Mr. Speaker, when you drive big cars, and somebody else is not, people start imagining so many things. So we must start addressing the issues that most likely are going to affect our people. Equal distribution of resources, employment, Mr. Speaker, even creating a nation of entertainment. In the border constituency, Mr. Speaker, we have what we call Talanta Ella activities. We have Bore Talanta Studio, where young people today, they spend a lot of their time. They move from one place to the other one, singing and dancing, creating depression, bringing entertainment, causing laughter. Mr. Speaker, we need to be a country where people are happy, We need to be in a country where people are working. We need to be in a country where people are enjoying to be sitting together. Mr. Speaker, if we have that, then we shall reduce serious issues to do with depression. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this policy is very important. We really need to look at it very critically. We really need to join hands together. We have looked at the areas of collaboration, and therefore I support the development of this policy in collaboration with the county government. I thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Elisha, you know you can't raise a point of order after he is concluded. So he has already concluded. Would you like to give you a chance to contribute to the motion? Honorable Elisha? No, I can only give you a chance to debate. So you have a chance to debate, Honorable Elisha. Please proceed.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to make my contribution to the motion by the Honorable Mishimboko. I think what is important for Kenya and the world over, number one, is to mainstream mental health in all our medical institutions, and also to have mental health officers in the county government so as to help us deal with the menace. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, mental health in this country is caused, among many other things, by muguka, which is a plant grown in Meru. I would urge, even as we consider the policy on mental health as exposed by the Honorable Mishi, we must be conscious that muguka is killing our children here in Kenya. And once we are aware, then we can be able to deal with the exposure from muguka. More importantly, mental health as a menace is more common amongst the rich and the wealthier of our society. And the policy then will help us edify the importance so that the wealthy of our society don't hide their children in their homes when the kids are going through a mental health process. What is equally important, Madam Speaker, what is equally important
Can I have the mic?
Is to
Thank you.
benchmark.
Thank you. Honorable Elisha, 1 minute. I have a point of order by the Honorable Rindikiri. What is out of order?
Madam Speaker, the honorable member is insinuating that without any proof or evidence,
Which standing order
that
is that,
Mugonda,
Honorable Rindikiri?
point of relevance. Okay. So I think the Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable member should not bring in the issue of Merawa Megoka into the debate. He has no scientific reason to believe that those two crops causes mental illness. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Actually, Honorable Rindikiri, if it's on relevance, the Honorable Elisha is still relevant. The point of order you are raising is on fact. Is that what you are saying? That the information he's giving is not factual? Well, I'll still say nothing is out of order. So let him proceed because he has a right to debate. This is a house of debate and he is free to debate. And if according to the Honorable Elisha, he believes that Mogoka is one of the problems, let him express himself. So you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for coming to my defense. But what is important, Madam Speaker, I have two relatives today in Kiambu, mental health, because of Muguka. So it's something I can talk with a lot of passion. But more importantly, let me make this point clear. Madam Speaker, in Europe, in America, most hospitals have mental health nurses. And it will be important for our country to be able to relook at the curriculum of MTCs that are training nurses so that we have a specific training that targets mental health nurses. Because nurses play a pivotal role in our medical institutions. So if we can have a curriculum, a more robust curriculum focusing on mental health nurses, then our country will be able to protect our children, will be able to protect members of our society that are exposed to mental health. Madam Speaker, I raise my case. Thank you.
Very well, Honorable Elisha. The Honorable Esther Passaris, member for Nairobi County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. I want to commend Honorable Mishi Boko for coming up with this motion to discuss mental health and how we can put facilities in all our health centers to deal with mental health. Now, I know that there are many civil society that actually provide training like a money counseling, and they normally come in when we have disasters to provide counseling, and they're training quite a number of people. Under NGAF, we found somebody from the Langata prisons who said that, you know, I deal with so many prisoners, I'd like to be sponsored for a full scholarship to go and actually do counseling so I can be better equipped to help most of the prisoners I'm dealing with, and we are happy that we actually sponsored her. And I think the government should actually be looking at some of the facilities in prison and making sure that we train as many people who are dealing with prisoners, as many people who are in medical facilities, and also educational facilities. Now, I want to talk from a point of experience, being somebody who actually suffers from many, many mental conditions. I'm not ashamed to say that I actually, when I was young, undiagnosed, I actually came to realize when I was much older as a parent that I was dyslexic. I had no idea I was dyslexic. It was when my children were diagnosed as dyslexic, and then I started realizing that I actually had the same habits. I used to do the same thing. First of all, my handwriting is disastrous. I can't even read it, you know? And I didn't realize that my handwriting, even though my teacher used to beat me so many times on my knuckles because she used to tell me how to put a capital letter at the beginning of a sentence, how to put a full stop, how to, you know, put the punctuations, I used to miss the conjugations like it, as, because I would write, my mind would go so fast. Now, dyslexia is a gift. Richard Branson came out openly and said, I'm dyslexic, and this is why I'm able to do what I'm doing. So besides being dyslexic, in fact, I think one of the things that you really suffer from when you're dyslexic is maths. Because if somebody tells you to write 1986, you will write 1968, because you take the last number first. So a lot of parents are not aware, and sometimes you will punish your child, but it's not the child who's making that mistake. So we need our teachers to actually understand that these are mental conditions where the child cannot help it. The child is not stupid. The child is not being disobedient. The child is just not able to comprehend, and this is dyslexia. Then there is something else called ADHD. I mean, my father used to think I was so naughty. I could not listen. I could not sit still. He tells me, sit down. I was fidgeting. I was standing up. I was running around. Go to the corner. I couldn't even stay at the corner. Because when you have ADHD, it's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. You just have so much energy. And you just, I mean, people want to sleep at midnight and you still have the energy to go on and on and on. I used to say it's like ever ready, you know, you just go on and on and on. So at the end of the day, with ADHD, you need drugs like Concerta, or you need Ritalin, which are very, very expensive, so that you can calm you down and you can sit in a class. Because when you're in a class, other children want to concentrate, but you're going to actually be distracting them. In fact, I was made a monitor of the class and a class prefect because the teacher wanted to make sure that I don't distract other children. But nobody knew at that time in the school that I went, which was the Star of the Sea Primary School, that I actually had a disorder, a learning disorder. And you know, as I grew up, I went to Dr. Okonji. You know, we all have issues that we need to see a psychiatrist, and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. You know, so marriages normally, you know, can be difficult to deal with. And when I started seeing Dr. Okonji, I didn't realize
that I was actually suffering from OCD, which was obsessive compulsive disorder. So the reason why I'm taking you through this is because I want all the constituents that we represent to realize that these are labels and they are genuine labels, and we might have them, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, I didn't even know. Dr. Okonji knew I was dyslexic, ADHD, and he didn't want to give me another label. So what happened is I was in his clinic, and I used to see his tiles were actually so disorderly. And one day I said to him, I said, Dr. Okonji, I'd like to give you a Christmas present. Can I do your tiles for you? And he said, yes, go ahead, fix my tiles. And I had the tilers come in, fix his tiles. One day my daughter went to see him. And when my daughter went to see him, she says, I can't stand my mom. She comes into my room, she picks everything up, she arranges everything. Why can't she just understand I'm a teenager, dropping my clothes on the floor is kind of normal. And then Dr. Okonji tells her, you know what, your mother suffers from OCD. So she wants everything orderly. So my daughter comes home after reading about it and says, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'll start tidying up. I understand where you're coming from. I called Dr. Okonji and said, why didn't you tell me I was OCD? And he goes, because you were already dealing with ADHD and dyslexia. Later on, after post-election violences and everything that I had to see and witness and all the bloodshed, I remember coming here one day and talking to Millie Odhiambo and saying, Millie, can you explain to me why am I not able to cry? Why am I feeling so sad and not able to have tears? And she goes, Esther, after all the post-election violence, you need to have something called debriefing. You need to see a counselor. And it's when I realized that I had post-traumatic stress disorder. So why am I talking about all these ailments, all right? And then one of the things that I think Kenyan women suffer from, and a lot of single mothers are suffering from depression because they have to deal with the baby, they have to deal with, not having somebody to help them out when it, feeling that, you've delivered your baby, you've got postnatal depression, and you don't understand why do you feel that you can't handle this baby? Do you not love this baby? So there's so many mental conditions out there, and some of them are actually treatable and some of them are not. Like narcissism is one of them that we deal with a lot of narcissistic people, especially people who have power and money, and they really can drive somebody to think that there's something wrong with you, but yet it is the person who's wrong. So all these conditions require us to be able to talk to somebody, to be able to get the treatment.
Order, Honorable, you still have a few minutes, about 2 minutes, but the Honorable Susan Kiamba, is it a point of order or you are being strategic? Anything out of order? No? Proceed, Honorable Passaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the reason why I'm talking about all these conditions that I personally have endured and I've had treatment is I was able to afford the treatment, but I know that these conditions are not just a rich man's disease. These conditions are for everybody. Anybody out there can have them. When you're unemployed, you go through depression. When you can't do your academic work properly, you go through, it's because of a condition that you might have. When you're bipolar, you need very expensive drugs. Our medical facilities and insurance do not provide for prescription drugs. I mean, if you are ADHD, all right, you require drugs monthly, and they're very, very expensive. So I think we need to understand that while we want to provide the medical counselors or psychiatrists free of charge, and we can do it very affordable through telemedicine, because I know there's an organization that is actually doing telemedicine right now, and for 700 shillings, you can speak to a counselor over and over and over again. So we need to partner with, SHIFT needs to partner with people who offer telemedicine so that Kenyans can, within one phone call, at 700 shillings, they have 5 counseling sessions in a day if you need it. So I feel that we need to move with the times. We need to provide prescription drugs that are recurrent on our SHIFT cover. We need to make sure that we bring in the drugs from countries that are affordable. You've got generic drugs. We have good relationships with India. I don't understand why we can't have low-cost pharmaceutical drugs available for our people that we can actually afford to give them. So I think we had the Psychologists and Counselors Act that I discovered was passed in 2014. I actually followed it up when I was in the Health Committee. It was a question of budget, whether we could put the board together. I think they have put the board together. But now we need to look at making sure that, one, We provide the counselors, we provide the training, we come up with the facilities in our schools for our children, in our hospitals, in terms of drugs, in terms of counseling, and give people the building blocks to be able to build and live a full life. Because, you know, mental disorder does not mean that you can't live a full life. It just means you need support and love. So when you see your loved one struggling, remember that it could be a mental condition. It's not the person doing something wrong. It's a mental condition that leads to drug using, and even there we need support. And that's why I'm coming up with the harm reduction bill, so that we can support everyone that finds themselves in that position where they became a drug user because of their mental condition. So I really commend our sister for what she's done with this motion, and I pray that we will be able to see Kenya offer the best in terms of medical attention when it comes to mental illnesses. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Member for Nairobi County. The Honorable Elizabeth Kailemia, Member for Meru County.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to speak this motion. I think I also want to thank Mheshimiwa Mbichi for bringing it up. I think it was very, very timely. This is a very difficult time, and we are all very stressful. Even getting caught up in the traffic jam is stressful. And of course, we all handle stress in different ways. I'm really happy that she has brought it up so that we have institutions of mental illness in all our facilities, because most of the people don't get this opportunity. Now we have our Honorable Pesaris, who has given her experience. And now I think we know that you don't have to remove your clothes in the streets for people to know that you are mentally ill. A lot has been said, and of course I wish that we would have training, a lot of training. We may have the institutions, and we don't have the personnel to be able to diagnose mental illness. We realize that when you're mentally ill, that is the cause of every other illness. Sometimes even it's not a physical illness, but a mental illness. So this is really, really timely. Having said that, the stress develops to people even getting to do suicide. Depression, gets to depression, that's the word I was looking for. And after you are depressed, really nothing looks positive, and that's what ends up to somebody committing suicide. So for me, what I would wish to suggest is that we decriminalize suicide, because we all know that if you attempt suicide, you are taken.
Member for Meru, Esther Pasaris, what is out of order?
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to correct the honorable member here who talked about you don't have to remove your clothes.
Order. You may take your seat. Would you like to inform her? So I would like to ask her whether she would like to be informed. Member from Meru County, would you like to be informed by the Honorable Esther Pasaris?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Okay, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, a lot of people, when you see them walking on the street nude, right? It's because of their mental condition that they strip their clothes. They've reached a point where, you know, they've reached a point where they're on their own and they remove their clothes and they feel free that way. That's also a mental condition that requires a health intervention. So when we see somebody like that, the best thing to do, and I know that most of the mental hospitals will admit such a person, is to basically, I think our police should be taking these people and taking them to the hospital, because it's a condition. They don't remove their clothes because they're being unruly. They remove their clothes because they actually have a mental condition that requires treatment. Thank you.
You may proceed, Member for Meru.
Thank you, Honorable Pasaris. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's not only those people who are sick. There are very many people who are sick. And that's why that is the end result. You know, when you see them, you say they are mad. But really, they are not. Well, mad is the word we use, but actually it's mental illness. And it could have resulted from depression. And that's why I'm saying we decriminalize suicide, because it's out of depression that they end up feeling unwanted, unworthy until they take their lives. So I would like to thank Honorable Mishi again for bringing this. These terms are very difficult even for our children. They are more of broken families and also exposure through our smart TVs, through televisions, and we see styles and movie stars and all those kind of things, and our children want to copy them. And when they can't get that, they also get depressed because they are not able to achieve maybe even the weight, as simple as just a weight or whatever they think is good for them. So thank you very much. I wish to support, Madam Chairman, this motion, and I wish to support. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Maina Madenge, member for Nyeri Town.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the motion by Honorable Mishi Boko. However, I seek to differ in the wording of this motion, Madam Speaker, because already we have the mental health policy, the Kenya Mental Health Policy 2015 to 2030. And when you look at that policy, there are policy measures and interventions that are proposed. And therefore, what I would beg is if we could expand so that we expand the scope of the implementation of that policy. However, Madam Speaker, I am also a member of the Health Committee. And it is clear in my mind that the issues of mental health have not received the requisite attention as they should in this country. For us to be able to go to, when we look at the level of the organization of healthcare in this country, the level, from level 1, who are community health promoters, to level 4, there is nothing for mental health conditions. And therefore you find that even the referral system and the organization of healthcare is not responsive enough to healthcare needs. In a country where available data, and this data is actually almost 15 years old because it is 2015 data, 1 in 4 persons who seek services in our outpatient health facilities have mental health issues. Secondly, in Africa, Kenya is the country that has the 4th highest cases of mental health conditions. But when we look at what the interventions that we need to make, first, at the community level, we should be able to deploy medical social health workers. But today in this country, we have a large pool of of social workers who are jobless. And therefore, the request for collaboration between the national government and county government so that we can deploy the medical social workers in communities is a welcome move. And even possibly an integration of the medical social workers within the community health promoters setup that is already in place. In our schools, where quite a number of us who have spoken before me have indicated that these conditions are easily seen, we need to be able to post clinical psychologists. And therefore, if we are to be able to do that, then we need either to get the Ministry of Education and the Teachers Service Commission to actually begin employing clinical psychologists as teachers in our primary or junior secondary, primary schools, junior secondary, and basic education institutions. Madam Speaker, when we get to the level where mental health services are available, they are mostly available in very few level 4 hospitals, mostly in the level 5, which are county referral hospitals, and the Mathare National Psychiatric Hospital.
The Mathare National Psychiatrist Hospital is the hospital of shame in our country. It is old, it is dilapidated, and it is stigmatized. And therefore, as a House, even as we pass these motions, then the voting of the liquid site resources to go with the motions that we pass must also gain priority and remain within our sites when the budgeting cycle begins. Madam Speaker, when we come to the family setup, despite depression, and by the time families decide, or even individuals decide, to go and seek help for depression, it is almost always rather too late. It is advanced. And therefore, the early warning signs, we need to have people within the community who are able to pick these early warning signs. But depression is not only disorder, the only medical disorder as it has been ably communicated by the speakers before me. Madam Speaker, we also need to revisit the Mental Health Act, which was first established in 1978, and since then was only amended once 10 years later in 2018. We need as a House to revisit that act in order to align it to the current realities on mental health. Madam Speaker, I believe there is a connection between the escalating cases of GBV and mental health. And when we look at then the cost to the economy of both mental health, GBV, issues of suicide, which have now been reported in primary school kids, and a perusal of the suicide records within our police stations would give us a clear map and inform the gravity of this situation. So, Madam Speaker, lastly, is the training of the personnel that are needed to treat those who are already diagnosed with mental health issues. Madam Speaker, more than half the counties, or approximately 50% of our counties today do not have psychiatrists. And the country has a severe shortage of psychiatrists. Again, psychiatric nurses, we again have another huge, huge shortfall. And therefore, there is a need for us also as a House to again vote in money specifically to, and ring fence the money specifically to go towards the training of mental health medical personnel. Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you. The Honorable Susan Kiamba, member for Makueni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also wish to put my voice to this very important motion that was brought by Honorable Mishimbogo, and I think it has actually come timely. Honorable Speaker, we realize that the issue of mental health attacks the head, the brain, and the brain is the engine of the body, which means if we don't address issues that affect the engine of the body, then of course it is going to resort into very many problems, social, economic, and even spiritual. So we realize this particular policy that Honorable Mbogo is proposing is very important, because if we have a policy that spells out all mainstreams issues of mental health from national to county level, I think such a policy will, one, help us to identify mental health as an issue. Because when you look at Kenya today in most communities, issues of mental health, they are perceived as curses. Even most people, when they meet somebody who is suffering from mental health, they think it's even contentious. They don't want to touch him. They don't want to give him first aid. So we realize, one, such a policy will help us as a country recognize the fact that this is a disease like any other disease, and actually we can have interventions to address it, as many of members of Parliament have actually suggested. Secondly, such a policy will enable us allocate resources to train the expected personnel. Not even the deep training of technical, even sensitizing people so that communities can have this stigma away. Because this stigma is so much, Honorable Speaker, such that very few people even identify that as a disease. You realize even when it appears in a family, most communities will spend their time visiting which doctors to try and address the problem, simply because they do not acknowledge that is actually an issue. Honorable Speaker, I think this is also very important because we realize that issues of mental health have resorted to a lot of wastage. When we have health staff who are not sensitive to issues of mental health, whether social health promoters or staff in the hospital, there is a lot of misdiagnosis of diseases. Whereby and once this misdiagnosis happens, Honorable Speaker, we realize it resorts to wastage because you are being treated of things that you are not suffering from, and that already resorts to a lot of wastage. Honorable Speaker, Madam, we realize that most of the problem we are addressing with a lot of income could be as a result of some of these mental health cases at the household level, at community level, and at our institution. And if this issue was actually, if we had a policy like this, we could actually easily mainstream and sensitize our people in such a way that they can actually address issues of mental health. I think they had economic times. I don't know, we've not any research, as somebody has said, to know some of the core factors contributing to that. But as it is rumored that hard economic times is one of the factors. And I think I tend to support that because if you look at Kenya today, even young children are killing themselves. Mothers are killing their children. Culturally, in most communities in Africa, it was unheard of for a mother to kill their children. Now it's very common for a mother to kill all her children and even kill herself. And I think most of this has actually been contributed to issues of mental health. So, Honorable Speaker, I think this motion comes out very timely, but I think we also have to think about budget. Because we have very many proposals and also priorities. We have so many proposals of issues mental health, but if you go to Mathare Hospital, where actually there are known cases of mental health, and the budgets we give them, it already tells us that we do not see it as a problem. We think it's individual confusion. So, Honorable Speaker, this particular motion needs to get all the attention, and especially the issue of mainstreaming it in health, because I don't think we can have personnel in everything. I think if we mainstream the issues of mental health, right from the grassroots level, from the health promoters, this issue will actually be picked, and actually affected people will be taken to the appropriate institution. Otherwise, I support, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Yusuf Mohammed, member for Wajir West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this motion. Madam Speaker, mental health, as brought by Honorable Mishi Mbogo, as one of the members already said, I want to differ a bit, although I support it, but I want to differ a bit and modify some of her recommendations to align with the policy that is already in place in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are not short of policies in this country. There is already policy that was formulated in this country of which is already existing mental health policy 2015 to 2030 that only needs small modification to align with what Madam Honorable Mishi is intending to do. Madam Speaker, mental health is a very critical issue for a person to survive or live in this country. Mental health is the state of the person's well-being to cope with the stress of this world and to work well, learn well, and also, Madam Speaker, to contribute to the society positively. That clearly tells you, what does that clearly tell you? It clearly tells you if a person is not stable, if a person is suffering mentally, he will not be able to learn properly, he will not be able to work well, he will not be able to contribute to the society or the community positively, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, mental health has not been given the attention, the required attention by this country, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to add some recommendations to what Madam Honorable Mishi has already stated. We are shying away facing the challenges of mental health. It has already been said, 1 out of 10 in the population, in this population, a person suffers mental health. But the question is, how many of us are suffering mental health? We don't know. We don't have the statistics. Why? Because we have no experts to identify and to know exactly who is suffering from mental health and who is not. Madam Speaker, we ourselves, when we go to hospitals, we shy away to present ourselves to a doctor to talk about mental health itself, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that clearly shows the stigma, the fear that we have, that we will be labeled by the society, that if somebody is mentioned or identified being suffering from mental health, he will be stigmatized, he will be isolated, and he will even suffer more, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what we need to have in this country is to provide mental health training to experts, doctors, nurses, and having clinics in each and every health center in this country, Madam Speaker. And if we cannot afford that, we might create one mental health center in each county, Madam Speaker, for people to realize, to understand their problems, Madam Speaker. Number two, Madam Speaker, provide mental health, provide mental work environment by solving the challenges in the workplace, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the work environment in this country is so polarized, is so bureaucratic, that nobody cares about who is sick and who is not sick. Not even only a mental health, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if a person is suffering in mental health, he has a mental health disorder, he might not perform as required. But when a senior, a person in charge of a particular institution, finds out that a person is not performing, instead of finding out what is the cause, he tries to write show cause letters, disciplinary actions, and eventually people are sacked. Madam Speaker, I have been following up since I came into this parliament that several police officers, several prison officers have deserted their duties, Madam Speaker. And why? Because of mental health disorders, Madam Speaker. They were sick. They just left their work, went home, stayed there, never reported to work, and never came back to work. Then what happens? The prison officers, the police officers, those who are in charge, sack those people, And those people, when they regain their mental health and they are treated and they come to their senses, they tell you, we were suffering, we want you to go to that hospital, office, prison office, to reinstate us, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this mental health issue is real. And we need to provide mental health day, open day in this country, Madam Speaker, for each and every Kenyan to go and check his status on how he is feeling, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if we don't do that, we will not achieve any substantial or any positive feedback from this mental health issue, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what we need to do is to have a comprehensive overhaul and re-evaluation of the mental health policy in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that will allow each and every person in this country to understand his status. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support with those few recommendations. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable, thank you. The Honorable Rueda Obo, member for Lamu East.
Asante, Madam Speaker, na kunipatia hii nafasi nami kuchangia kwa hoja ya mjadala ya ugonjwa wa kiakili ulioletwa na Mheshimiwa Mishi Mboko. Moja kwa moja na muunga mkono kwa njia yoyote ile kuboresha hali ilivyo hapa nchini sasa itakuwa jambo la muhimu sana. Sisi kama wabunge ni wakilishi wa wananchi. So jambo lolote lile ambalo litafanya mwananchi apate huduma bora, sisi hatuna budi kuliunga mkono. Kuna sababu nyingi za kusababisha haya magonjwa ya kiakili. Kuna sababu ya mihadharati, kuna sababu mtu akiwa mgonjwa ile wazungu wanasema akiwa na stigma, kuna kukosa huduma pia zinasababisha mtu akawa na mafikira mingi. Kuna mambo mengine paka sehemu zingine tu ndio ziko na shida hizo, kama kule kwetu, kama eneo bunge lote hakuna vituo vya burudani. Kwa mfano uende pahali ukae upumzike akili, inakuwa ngumu kwetu kule eneo bunge lote halina. Sasa mambo kama haya yanasababisha hawa vijana wetu wakafikiria mambo ya upotofu. Wakafikiria paka ukaona mbona wanafanya hivi, lakini kumbe sababu ni shida za kiakili. Bispika, shida ni nyingi kule kwetu. Sisi kule kwetu tuna vijiji 23. Na leo sitazungumzia watu wangu tu wa Lamu East, wa Lamu Mashariki. Nitazungumzia hata wale wahudumu wanaokuja kufanya kazi kule. Wanapata shida zaidi hata kushinda wale wananchi wanaishi kule. Kwa sababu kama polisi wakija kule wanapata shida sana. Inataka kutafutwe mpangilio maalum. Hii pia itakuwa mojawapo kusaidia. Polisi akisha kutumwa Lamu Mashariki, akili yake yeye anajua kwamba ametumwa kule kwa sababu ni adhabu. Akienda nasikia nauliza tunawapatia kazi sana wale OCS. Akiingia ofisa kama huyo polisi akifika kule, wiki nzima hafanyi kazi, paka watu wakae naye wamweleze polepole ndio wazoee yale mazingira. Ndio maana saa nyingine hutokea kwa kule ukimweka mtu zaidi ya miaka mingi. Mimi namshukuru Waziri Kindiki alipokuweko, na sasa akija inshallah akipitishwa aendeleze, amesaidia sana ile mpango wa kutoa kila baada ya miaka mitatu mtu asikae zaidi. Kuna wengine wanakwamilia hapa matown, wakamilia Nairobi, Mombasa na area zingine matown, wenzao wanakaa msituni, wanakaa area hawezi fanya chochote, inakuwa paka wanapotea akili. Kuna sehemu kama Kiangwe, polisi akipelekwa pale unamhurumia. Sababu yeye hajazoea, afadhali sisi tunaishi kule tunazoea yale mazingira ni yetu. Polisi afike pale, maji ya kuoga hana, wiki mzima anaweza kaa bila kuoga. Wanafurahia wakati wa mvua ndo wanapata maji mengi. Lakini maji ni paka akusanye wakati ukinyesha mvua ndo ayakusanye pale. Kuna time huwa yameisha, wanaangalia ile maji kwa kunywa peke yake, hawapati kuoga. Speaker, area kama hizi za kwetu ikifanywa mpango kama huu, kila dispensary iwe itawekwa mhudumu wa kushughulika na mambo haya, basi itafungua mambo mengi. Mfano hapo Kiangwi, utoke Mokoe, polisi awe anapeleka Kiangwi. Hiyo bahari tu, mtu hajazoea kupanda bahari, atoke Mokoe afike Kiangwi jisaji moja na dakika 30 kwenda huko. Akifika tu hiyo kwake ni kama inamtosha kumbadilisha akili. So lazima tuwe na mipangilio tofauti. Tusiwe tutakaa kwenye maboardroom huku Nairobi tukipanga mipango, ukapanga kama Kenya yote iko kwenye meza moja. Kuna sehemu zingine mambo ni tofauti kwa ground. Tofauti kabisa. So ikiwa jambo litafanywa, mimi nashukuru rais, siku hizi akifanya jambo anafanya kila eneo bunge. Kama amesema mambo ya market, ya soko, ikawa kila eneo bunge, na sisi sasa tumepata hope. Na lingine linalosababisha mambo yakafanyika yanavyofanyika, pia mwanadamu akikosa imani inamsababisha ikamletea mafikra mengi na matatizo yakatokea. Kwa mfano, kama umekosa imani na wazazi wako, umekosa imani na marafiki zako, umekosa imani na serikali yako, yale pia huleta matatizo. Mimi kwangu kuna matatizo hata saa nyingine kusema naogopa. Mambo ni makubwa. Nyinyi hapa saa nyingine utaona watu wanakuja bunge, lakini wangu wanavuka akaenda Somalia. Na huwezi kujua pengine ile sababu iliyowafanya kwenda kufanya vile. Sisi huku tunalaumu pengine ni kuna kasoro ya akili. Na zimechangiwa si sasa, ni mambo mengi imechangia. Lakini tukifanya mambo kama haya yatadhibiti ile menendo inayoendelea. Serikali inafaa na sisi wabunge tuweke policies ambazo zitasaidia watu wote, zisaidie wengine. Au zisaidie wale wanaokuwa kwao ni rahisi kufikiwa, hakuna changamoto za usafiri. Sisi kwetu la Mashariki, leo nataka nichukue nafasi, mimi nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu, hii bunge sasa imeelewa kwamba Lamu Mashariki iko tofauti na zingine. Mimi hapa nichukue hii nafasi niseme, kwanza Speaker, nyote mmeanza kunielewa kwamba kuna Mbajuni na ana shida. Na shida zake kuna wengi wamezielewa sasa. Kama mfano kitu kidogo tu kupeleka pahali generator ilikuwa ipelekwe Kiunga, hata Speaker akatoa onyo kwamba kama Alhamisi haikufika, chairman wa hiyo kamati aje hapa aeleze. Utashangaa generator tu tani 7 au 8 kupelekwa inachukua siku 100 kama na 20. Sasa katika chochote kinachofanyika hapa Kenya, ani service yoyote ambayo inafanyika kule kwetu inakuwa ngumu kwa sababu ya changamoto za usafiri. Mfano wake ni hiyo generator tu kupeleka. Kuna barabara, hizi huduma pia zinasababisha mtu akawa na mafikira mengi, yakasababisha hizi mambo ya nini. Kama wodi mzima ya Basuba ina vijiji 5, wodi ya Basuba. Ina Basuba, ina Kiangwi, ina Mararani, ina Mangai, na wapi nimesahau. Kuna Milimani. Hiyo area yote kuenda huko kufikia dispensary au kufikia level 6 hospital ambao ya karibu zaidi ni hapa Nairobi. Kufikia level 5 ni King Fahad. Wao ndani kule wanajengewa sasa maternity. Hakuna mradi wowote. Ile eneo limebakia area tu, watu waende kwa msitu wakatafute hasali, wakirudi wakae. Ile mafikra inamfanya mtu paka afanye vile saa nyingine kuchanganyikiwa na akili. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu kila kijiji kipate hizi huduma. Nimefurahisha sana na hili. Kule kupita kuna barabara moja tu ambayo barabara hiyo ni international road na ni security road. Barabara hiyo ni kuanza Bargoni mpaka Kiunga. Bargoni mpaka Kiunga ni kilomita 150, lakini kwa sababu hakuna huduma, ile area haipitiki, barabara haipitiki. Pesa iko ya hiyo barabara. Nimefuatilizia, tumepata sasa hope kwa hii serikali. Kama contractor hawezi fanya, basi ampatie washirikiane, ampatie local contractor, hiyo barabara itengezwe, manake pesa iko 1 billion hapo, ifanywe kazi. Ndio watu wakitafuta hizi huduma kwa sasa, kwa vile haijafanywa hii, haijapelekwa mashinani, kwenda huko King Fahd mpaka tumie shilingi 7,500. Kwa hivyo hii huduma ya barabara ikiwekwa, pia inapunguza hizi adhabu nyingi za kufikiria. Vijiji kama Kiunga iko huko boda tu Somalia, ambapo imekatwa na mambo mengi. Passporti, ID, ukitaka tu good conduct mpaka ulipe 8,000 uje Lamu town. Sasa ona tabu zote hizo, na hawa youth wetu tunawaelewa. Wengine sisi tulisubiri, lakini wengine hawawezi kusubiri. Wakiona vitu kama hivyo ndio mambo yanaharibika. Bwana Speaker, unaelewa, na ningependa nyinyi pia mtembelee muone zile sehemu zetu. Sisi tuna ward 3. Kiunga ward kuna Ndau Island, kuna Kiaiu Island, kuna kufika Mkokoni. Unatembea kwenye maji kufika Ndau jisaji moja kutoka Lamu. Hiyo ni adhabu tosha. Kisha umweke ofisa au umweke
The Honorable Rueda, I give you 2 more minutes. Represent the best of Bajuni community in Kenya. 2 more minutes. Rueda Obo, the mic.
Bwana Speaker, asante sana. Kwa vile mimi hapa ndiye Mbajuni peke yangu. Katika bunge lote mimi ndio Mbajuni peke yake, nawakilisha Bajuni wote na Kenya nzima, walioko Kenya nzima. Sababu Mbajuni mimi tu hapa peke yangu. Mimi natafuta marafiki tu kila kabila. Mimi ndio sina ukabila, kwa sababu lazima nitafute kila mtu. Sina mwenzangu hapa, sina mtu wa kuzungumza kabila yangu. Bwana Speaker, Kiwayu uende kwa maji jisaji moja na dakika 30. Huduma ziwe ni hizo matatizo. Mkokoni iko ndani ya msitu, sahi ndo tunapambana. Mkiona tunalia hapa, mambo kule ni tofauti. Ukitaka kwenda barabara ile ambayo imejengwa sahi, wodi nzima au constituency mzima ni ile imefanywa na kera. Ndio maana saa nyingine hatutaki mtu aitaje kera. Hizi zote zinachangia mawazo mengi, na ni muhimu sisi sote kama Wakenya tufikirie kama Wakenya. Ile unafikiria kwako inakufaa, kwa mwenzako ni tofauti. Mimi nikisema nikienda kwangu nataka security, mtu atashangaa hapa. Mimi kutoka Mkokoni mpaka kwenda Kiunga lazima nipewe gari nzima ya polisi kwa sababu napitia Boni Forest. Mwingine hapa atashangaa, wakati nilipokuwa women rep, ile pesa ya kulipwa security ilikuwa nalipwa, unashangaa mbona ni polisi ni wengi na security wawili wanatosha, nilikuwa napata shida. Hizo mawazo zote zinachangia mambo mengi ya upotofu na kuharibu kwa akili. Asante Bwana Speaker.
The Honorable Dorothy Ikiara.
See in the morning. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Dorothy Kiara will be followed by Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, Prof, and then Honorable Dick Maungu, in that order. Proceed, Honorable Dorothy Kiara.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And for record, I want Honorable Doris to know I was here as early as 9:30 in the morning. Honorable Speaker, I want to stand to support this very important motion, Honorable Speaker, on mental health. Honorable Speaker, we are at crossroads as a country, Honorable Speaker, because one, for record, we have a very, very good mental health service, mental health policy. 2015-2030 which established a framework for improved mental health care. However, Honorable Speaker, translating those goals into tangible action requires a facility-level policy. Honorable Speaker, I want to underscore the fact that mental health is a subject that is always being shunned by most people, and especially mental health patients, Honorable Speaker. I'm saying this, Honorable Speaker, because for a long time, since the formulation of this policy, 2015, Honorable Speaker, and it's one of the best among in the world. Honorable Speaker, very little has been done towards actualizing the policies that are herein. Honorable Speaker, I know this century, a lot of people are suffering because of mental health issues, and mental health is categorized in very many categories, Honorable Speaker, because when we talk of mental health, there are very many causes of mental health, Honorable Speaker. And the question that we should be asking ourselves as a country, do we have enough specialists to identify the various forms of mental elements? If we have the number of the requisite specialists to identify, do we have institutions that look into those categories at a personal level? Honorable Speaker, I know over the years, we have an institution that is well known and that takes care of mental health patients, and that is the Mathare Mental Hospital. But this hospital, Honorable Speaker, has been so stigmatized that when you tell a patient you are taking them to Mathare, they just think it is the Mathare where you go, not treatment, but you only meet very sick, mentally sick patients. Honorable Speaker, apart from having a policy, Honorable Speaker, we must fulfill a constitutional right. Honorable Speaker, the policy ensures compliance with Article 27 of our Constitution, which guarantees dignified treatment for all mental patients, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, as a country, we should be asking ourselves, do we really give mental health patients dignity? Do we treat them with dignity? Do they go to facilities and meet facilities which are well prepared to welcome them? Do they receive counselors who, first of all, counsel them, talk to them, and know what they are going through before even giving them drugs? Honorable Speaker, we must, as a country, know how we will close this gap, because many Kenyans, especially in the rural areas, Honorable Speaker, they lack access to these mental health care facilities. They even don't get anyone who will tell them you have an issue. Honorable Speaker, as a country, I'm impressed because today we have community health workers. And these community health workers, Honorable Speaker, they should be the first-line workers to identify a person who has mental health issues and direct them on the best facilities where they can be assisted. Honorable Speaker, I know families, sometimes it becomes difficult for families to accept that their person has a mental health issue, because the first judgment of parents is always this child is taking drugs, this child is under drug and substance abuse, and this sometimes leads us to not taking interest in the elements of our children. Honorable Speaker, we should have the primary caregivers identifying different types of mental issues and directing the patients to the right facilities. Honorable Speaker, I know untreated mental illness is a significant public health burden. Honorable Speaker, we have people who have gone to school. We have a lot of our children who have gone to school. They have their certificates, but they cannot do any meaningful economic activity because they don't have stable minds. Honorable Speaker, even in places of work, even where people work, there is a lot of resource, brain drain, which is disappearing because of mental health issues, Honorable Speaker. And sometimes even at the workplace, people are not able to identify mental issues. Instead, somebody is fired from work simply because they cannot be able to coordinate in their work, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this because I know in places where we have chronic drunkardness, especially in many professions, I not mention the professions because it cuts across, Honorable Speaker, at the workplace. We should be able to have counselors who can be able to identify and know this person is not a drunkard. It is because the person is going through a lot of mental issues. Honorable Speaker, I want to say, because we have this policy, which is well formulated, and the policy is running from 2015 to 2030, we don't have a policy gap in the country, Honorable Speaker. What we are lacking is the implementation strategies, Honorable Speaker. And this is what we should be dealing with as a country. Honorable Speaker, if we deal with the implementation and the recommendations in this policy, Honorable Speaker, we can be able as a country to iron out all the issues that go along with mental issues. Honorable Speaker, it is evident and it has been proven that this country has the fourth highest cases of mental health in Africa. And Honorable Speaker, as we move along, cases are increasing by the day. If as a country we don't take serious intervention measures, Honorable Speaker, we will have a country of mentally sick people. Honorable Speaker, I want to end with a quote from the former President of the Republic of America, Barack Obama. Barack Obama said, mental health is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Let's break down the barriers and stigma that prevent people from seeking treatment. Mental health is not something that you should shun away from. Let us all break the barriers and take care of the mentally sick in our society. I support this motion, and I want to round Honorable Ms. Boko and say, let the implementation strategies be fast-tracked. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wilberforce Ondo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to also contribute on the motion about mental health that has been moved by an able member of the ODM team, Honorable Ms. Shimboko. Honorable Speaker, for many, many years, many of us never understood and appreciated mental health. It's only in the recent past when high-profile incidences of suicide, mass murder, or some kind of fun behaviors that have been reported in the newspapers, that have been witnessed all over the country, that the issue of mental health has now been forced to come to the fore and the public debate. Honorable Speaker, where I come from, for many years, since childhood, in the early 70s, we used to have a joke that every market had a madman. And whenever another one came, the existing madman will tell the another one that the market is too small, cannot accommodate two madmen. So they will urge them to go look for another site or another market to roam around. It was such level of disdain that mental health patients were treated to. Honorable Speaker, over time, there has been a very difficult point to draw between mental health and psychological issues. And I do not purport to be an expert in that area, and I do believe experts in that area, in the fullness time, will draw a line between mental health and psychological issues caused by stress, hereditary, or other issues at hand. Suffice to say, Honorable Speaker, we cannot continue to bury our head in the sand. The statistics given by Honorable Mishimboko are very scary. If 10% of the population is suffering from one level of mental health or another, then it's very, very scary. As a country, as my colleagues have said, it's therefore important to look at the mental health policy and see where did we go wrong. What have we done to implement the same so that we are able to manage and live with mental health? Honorable Speaker, not everybody, as they have said, who is properly dressed, who speaks fluent English, who walks around elegantly, who can swing the board from one side or another, is okay. Mental health varies from different levels. That's why sometimes, Honorable Speaker, I get scared when even our colleague members of Parliament here, some of the things they do, some of the things they say, some of the way they act themselves, either on the floor of the House, when they have been granted a microphone in public rallies, or in funerals, or even in churches, Honorable Speaker, makes me believe that our mental health is only the degree of madness, as we say in my village, that differentiates. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I totally want to agree that we need to take mental health training, mental health treatment, mental health attention to the very lowest level, Honorable Speaker. Many of us, and as Honorable Esther Passeris has narrated the story, we have kids in the houses. We never know some of the actions, some of the things they do, probably is a sign of mental health. You find some of us, Honorable Speaker, who have had the opportunity to be lecturers in the universities. When you go to a lecture hall, some of the behavior, some of the demeanor of the students really indicates we have a high case of mental health in this country. I do not want to belabor the point what my colleagues have said, but only to say that one, many of the 99% of health and health management issues is a devolved function. And we want to keep on, I will never tire to urge the county governments that Baba Raila Amolo Odinga advocated for devolution, not for the sake of devolution, but to take the services that had been centralized at the center, as we used to say, to the periphery. Because people at the center never allowed people in the periphery to come and interfere at the center. So devolution gave us a chance to take to the periphery some of these issues. Honorable Speaker, it will be prudent and it will make much sense for us to solve this problem so that we have every single health facility in all parts of this country to have somebody trained in mental health issues, Honorable Speaker. We have community health volunteers. Do we have anybody among those community health volunteers who has got the requisite training in mental health? We are now able to detect malaria and the basic communicable diseases and even make a phone call and prescribe medication. Do we have such members in that group? Probably some matter I hope and I wish the Committee on Health could also get to say of this matter and look such out of the 20 or so they have any given constituency, do we have a member? Honorable Speaker, do we have any holding facility? Do we have any specialized treatment facility in every single county to deal with mental health? I can report here, for my count of Busia, we do not have any single facility, medical facility, where we can deal with medical health matters. Honorable Speaker, in the first years when I was an MP, I had to rescue so many people who were shackled because they were thought to be mad, who simply needed medical attention. Very psychological counseling to wean them off some very traumatic incidences they have faced. We need to tell also the families wherever we are, if you feel your member of family has got some medical condition that probably is of health, mental health of nature, please do not shy away from looking for medical attention. There are very many social support groups that can assist in making sure that we deal with this matter. Honorable Speaker, as the economy becomes hard, as things become hard, and as people are continuously tormented by social media, by the moment we continuously exposed to so many issues, the issue of mental health is going to be a key issue. That's why, as you had said earlier, we would request the move of the motion. Instead of saying that we urge, and as my colleague has said, can we resolve that the government of Kenya, the country, collectively, both the national government and the county government, implement the public mental health policy and invest adequate resources as required by international conventions towards dealing with mental health. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, the number of suicides are going to be very many. The number of times women are going to kill their own children are going to be many. The number of times the men are going to kill their own children are going to be many. Unless we intervene in good time, we are going to have a national disaster that's going to take us a lot more time to deal with. Honorable Speaker, I'm not an expert. I want to repeat again, I'm not an expert, but there's some predisposing factors towards mental health. And I want to urge all members of Parliament who are here, whenever you have an opportunity, please talk about the predisposing factors. Let us try to lower them down so that we don't have to have our members of the various constituencies killing each other for matters they can deal with. Issue of anger management, Honorable Speaker, could also be a mental health issue. How do you manage anger? If you are provoked, however slight it is, do you have to pull out your machete and slash somebody to end? Do you have to pull out your pistol and fire and blow somebody's head off? Can we learn to dialogue? Can we learn to talk? Just like when we were in the university, whenever we used to have issues, you'd buy a chapati, eat together, and dialogue together. That's why the issue of dialogue came to be known as dialogue. With those very many remarks, I support the motion and ask the member to change from resolve to urge to resolve. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I'd said you give, yes, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And after Honorable Dick Maungu, we will have Honorable Donya Doris, Honorable Felix Oduor, in that order.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity to speak. Though, Mr. Speaker, I've really been patient, waiting for my time, and this has actually resulted into some mental distress on my side. We are discussing a very, very important concept, and this is about the state of health in our country with regard to mental health. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, congratulate my sister, the member Mishi Mboko, for having thought it well, because mental stress, mental health is such an important facet that it cuts across every other cadre, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, people out here are abused. That is a source of mental stress, trauma, and neglect. Mr. Speaker, social isolation and loneliness can equally be a result of mental stress. Mr. Speaker, we live in a country that is very, very toxic, and therefore any kind of discrimination be it tribal, religious, or whichever kind of discrimination, Mr. Speaker, will result into mental distress. We live in a country, Mr. Speaker, that has a lot of social disadvantage, poverty, debts. All these, Mr. Speaker, lead into extreme mental distress. Mr. Speaker, bereavement, losing of a loved one, losing of a close friend, losing a dear member of a family, Mr. Speaker, has had severe damage to the well-being of our state of mind and therefore mental distress. Mr. Speaker, we live in a situation whereby people are exposed to long and severe stress. All these conditions result into mental stress. And therefore, the Honorable Mishi, having thought it is important that we mainstream mental health in our facilities down to the ward, Mr. Speaker, so that our people can be able to access and enjoy mental care in early stages. Mr. Speaker, we realize, and we've seen it here, that we have had cases of religious extremism, whereby people are indoctrinated to a sense that people can go to a point of giving or taking off their lives, Mr. Speaker. That is a form of mental distress. A good example is what we saw, the Shakahola massacre, Mr. Speaker, where these people who were actually taken advantage of were not in the right form of thinking. Maybe they were exposed to some severe conditions that made them not be able to make independent and sober decisions. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, mental health is such an important concept, an important part that we cannot neglect about it, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the Honorable Member, having come with this motion, it is to help us see if we can entrench mental health in our local facilities. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that as a result of lack of jobs, we have a very huge population, and this population is young, people below the ages of 35 years, Mr. Speaker. These are people who have gone to school. Some of them have cleared university with some very good degrees, but cannot be able to secure any form of employment. This has exposed them to drugs and substance abuse, Mr. Speaker, which in the sense has actually caused a lot of damage in their mental health, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, mental health is such an important discussion because it cuts across the unemployed, it cuts across the employed, Mr. Speaker. We've just seen a situation whereby teachers are equally stressed because they have a lot of workload, Mr. Speaker, and we find that they may not be able to articulate or to speak or to teach, Mr. Speaker, because they feel that they are stressed. Mr. Speaker, we have the police who take care of our security, Mr. Speaker. Some of the actions we see with them, either shooting indiscriminately or even hanging themselves or even fighting among themselves, Mr. Speaker, is a form of mental distress, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, over the last few days, we've even seen a situation whereby people in Eldoret town were conned by some religious leader who took their money. I mean, they were told that this money was going to multiply, Mr. Speaker. And I do believe that each person who gave out his money and maybe that money disappeared is seriously stressed. And therefore, the issue of mental health, Mr. Speaker, is such an important matter that we can't forget about it. Years back, it used to be said that, that in every market you go, there's a madman. Mr. Speaker, those are not mad people, but they are people with mental challenges. These are people who are sick. These are people who need to have medical care so that they can be taken off the streets and maybe get medication and maybe go back to gainful engagement in life. And therefore, the issue of mental health cannot be, we cannot be able to ignore it. We cannot ignore the importance. We cannot ignore the significance of mental health in our living, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, as leaders, we have a duty to ensure the kind of young people we are bringing up are people we bring up in a society that has access to mental facilities that can take care of them, Mr. Speaker. In the great county of Vihiga, where I come from, Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency known as Luanda. The facility we have, Mr. Speaker, cannot be able to competently take care of a mental situation in that area, Mr. Speaker, unless these guys are referred to the referral facility in Bali, Mr. Speaker. I therefore request and ask, Mr. Speaker, that as we talk about this, Mr. Speaker, we also need to bring in the issue of psychological support. These are people who need counseling. These are people who need to be mentored and to be spoken to, Mr. Speaker, so that before the situation is that bad, they need to be counseled. Maybe go through some counseling and psychological sessions so that they can be able to bring down the levels of their stress. In this essence, we shall be able to avoid and to maybe reduce the cases of mental health that we have in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Doris Donya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, this motion will be debated up to, I'm told, around 12:42. By 12:42, the mover will be called to reply. So I wanted to encourage you to speak for a shorter time so that as many of you as possible may contribute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I can speak for 2 minutes. I donate 1 minute to Honorable Lillian. Mr. Speaker, when we discuss about mental health, it is a real issue. Things that happen, you cannot fake. As when they do the advertisement, they say if you use this toothpaste, your teeth will be white. That is sort of fake. But mental health and how it comes by poverty, Mr. Speaker, and this is a high time. We now did a discussion on how we can cure poverty in our land. It is the major contributor. The husband and wives, they are fighting in their homes because there is no food, there is no money. Maybe your child has stolen 50 shillings that was meant for cooking oil. And it is all over. You are told, don't divorce. Things with the relationship, breakups, Mr. Speaker. Someone is writing a letter, I can't do without you, and that person disappears. You start crying, you don't eat. Depression is real. The use of drugs, someone will tell you that, oh, why I'm using bangi or why I'm taking changa is because I'm stressed. When I take this changa in the evening, I will feel relaxed and I will sleep well. So having known that it is a real issue, we must treat it as one and solve it as one. How do we cure it? We improve on our employment, we improve on our farming with abundance, a good number of jobs, plenty of food, and these things ceases. So I support Honorable Mishi, and Mr. Speaker, please 1 minute to Honorable Lillian.
Honorable Felix Oduor, also known as Jalango, the MP for Langata.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion brought by my senior, Honorable Mishi Mboko. It is very sad that we are having a conversation on an issue that already has so many policies that are not being implemented. God rest their souls in peace. This weekend, I'll be going to bury a very young girl who also passed on through mental health issues. Just the other day, we were again in Langata Cemetery burying a very close friend who also died through suicide. The number of suicide cases that we see each and every single day can tell you what the country is going through as on matters mental health. Mental health is a conversation that must continuously be regarded as a very, very important issue in this country. But the problem that comes with mental health definitely is the stigma around it. And even worse on men, where men are told, be a man, man up. And they cannot even open up to issues that they are going through. And it is even much sad that we have friends, we have groups, we have people we call our close relatives, but can never be able to see what somebody is going through. Until the worst happens, through suicide, that's when you hear somebody says, why didn't they talk?
Why could he not even open up? Yet when they open up to you as a person, you'll tell him to man up. Oh, kuwa mwanaume. You cannot be mwanaume when things you are going through are things that nobody wants you or is even able to help you understand. Mr. Speaker, just over the weekend, there was a men mentors walk organized by Oga Obina. And if you saw the number of men who streamed in to this event, there were so many. It tells you of how many of men out here or women are going through issues that they continuously want to talk about, but there is no one to talk to. Our health facilities, number one, do not even have this mental health areas or places where are meant for people going through mental issues. And mostly because of stigma, nobody wants to come out and talk about the issues that they are going through. I urge most members of parliament here, if it is possible, you could even try and organize constituency mental health days to just try and mitigate issues that we are going through. I support my senior, Madam Bish Mboko. This motion is timely, and mental health is a conversation that must be continuous, and this government must take it as a serious issue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, we are intervening in the debate to allow the majority leader lay some papers and give motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and sorry for the interruption. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 7th August 2024. The second report of the Committee on Appointments on the vetting of persons for appointment to the offices of Cabinet Secretaries, volumes 1, 2, 3A, and 3B. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Lay and please give notice of motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Appointments in its second report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment to the offices of Cabinet Secretaries, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 7th August 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 152, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, this House, 1, approves the appointment of the following persons as Cabinet Secretaries. 1, Honorable Professor Kidure.
Order. Those members who are...
It is Honorable Irene Kasalu.
Honorable Irene Kasalu and Honorable, could you take your seats, please? This is a very important motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And allow me to take that again. That 1, approves the appointment of the following persons as Cabinet Secretaries. 1, the Honorable Professor Kidure Kindiki, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration. 2, Dr. Deborah Mlongo Barasa, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health. 3, Honorable Alice Wahome, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. 4, Mr. Julius Migos Ogamba, EBS, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. 5, the Honorable Roslinda Soipan Tuya, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Defense. 6, Dr. Andrew Mwehia Karanja, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. 7, the Honorable Aden Bare Duale, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. 8, Mr. Eric Mureithi Muga, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. 9, Mr. Davis Chirchir, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport. 10, Dr. Margaret Nyambura Ndongo, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. 11, Honorable John Mbadi Ngong.
Who is this honorable member? Please do the right thing.
I think he's a gold man. The Honorable Zahir.
The great MP for Nyaribari Chache.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Zahir is not in this list. So 11 is the Honorable John Mbadi Ngongo, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 12, the Honorable Salim Vuria Mgala, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. 13, Ms. Rebecca Miano, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. 14, the Honorable James Opio Wandai, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. 15, the Honorable Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. 16, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs. 17, the Honorable Dr. Alfred Nganga Mutua, EGH, Cabinet Secretary of Labor and Social Protection. 18, the Honorable Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development. 19, the Honorable Justin Bidan Njoka Muturi, EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development. And 2, Honorable Speaker, rejects the appointment of Ms. Stella Soy Langat. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Shakil Shabir will go back to the order. And members, those members who want to speak to this motion, I told you we have less than 12 minutes. You may approach Honorable Mishi, you know what to discuss with her. Because at 12:42, I will be calling her to reply. Honorable Shabir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, 1 in every 4 Kenyans are probably suffering from mental health issues. We as Kenya has forgotten the issue of mental health. Actually, more than that, 1 of every 2 youths are struggling with mental-related problems. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have been sidestepping the issue of mental health. Mental health to us in Kenya has always been Matari, Tuma Matari, or that madman in the village. Mr. Speaker, sir, that there is a thin line between PhDs and brilliant minds, geniuses, and mental health. Mr. Speaker, I will remind you, you must have seen him. He used to be on the, and Jomo Kenyatta, he was here opposite the post office, a very well-known professor, walking around naked. Now, the problem in healthcare is that we have been, there's a stigma on it. We deny it. We want to silence it. We want to put it together with traditional witches. We want to put it together with others. We have no budget for this. We have no intention of doing anything rather than locking these people away in a Matari-like institution. Mr. Speaker, sir, there was a task force set up in 2020 by a very eminent Dr. Jenga and his team. That task force has now come up with some of the regulations that we have. The formal mental health plan that they requested is the policy for provision of mental health care that the Honorable Mishi is now proposing. And I support her very much. The problem, of course, is implementation. The problem, Mr. Speaker, sir, is there is no budget. And the low level of budget in the health budget for health care. Mr. Speaker, I speak from a position of knowledge. I have been the chairman of the New Nyanza General Hospital for over 10 years. I've been in the Aga Khan Hospital Board for over 15 years, and others. And I can see, and I have seen, the way mental health is a non-issue in this country. We cannot continue to ignore mental issues. Tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, even I could be walking around that street there with no clothes on. Not because I'm a madman. Probably I have become mad. I've just gone across. There's a beautiful movie called The Beautiful Mind. The Beautiful Mind is about a genius in the United Kingdom who saved the world war. But he was treated as a madman. And many times even all these geniuses that we talk about are accepted and treated as mad people. There's a barrier. There's inadequate funding. There's a fact that even this policy is not going to make any difference unless, of course, there is a separate budget for health management, mental health care management. And that budget must come out of the health budget, but must be linked so that cannot be maneuvered and cannot be changed by the authorities at Mafia House. That is a problem that we have. Nobody wants to talk about mental health. Dr. Jenga and a few others have been talking about it for a long time.
Honorable Shabir,
yes, sir.
The time has come for the mover to reply.
Thank you, sir. I support wholeheartedly.
Mover, the Honorable Mishimboko, how many minutes do you want to use in your reply?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've seen that members are really interested in debating on this motion, but I just want to donate 1 minute to each of these members I'm going to mention. Honorable Julius Taitum from Igembe North, 1 minute. Honorable Rashid Bezimba, 1 minute. Honorable Rene Mayaka, 1 minute. Honorable Odanga, 1 minute. And Honorable Nicholas from Turkana East, 1 minute. And the last one, Charity Gadambi, that's the last one.
The Honorable Charity Gadambi, you said 2 minutes or 1 minute?
I said 1 minute because there are many. If I give 2 minutes, then I'll not have time to reply. And Kibageni, the last one.
Yeah, can you call them in 1 minute each?
Okay, I'll start with Julius Taitum. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, may I thank the mover for coming up with this critical motion. Mr. Speaker, mental health is critical today due to changing socioeconomic trends in our country and the social pressures like lack of jobs, lack of social facilities like housing and other needs that put pressure on people. Various accidents, Mr. Speaker, in this country take place due to mental health issues like suicides, drivers who drive while depressed due to various demands, due to pressures of our daily lives. Mr. Speaker, anxiety levels are also a major cause of mental disorders in this country. For this, therefore, Mr. Speaker, health facilities that are able to take care of our increasing demand of mental health care provisions are supposed to be cascaded downwards, probably up to sublocational levels. In sublocational levels, if the country can afford. Mr. Speaker, the state of the mind is like the state of an engine in a vehicle. If the mind has issues, the entire...
Next, honorable member.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mishi kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuchangia mswada huu ambao ni kitu cha kuangaliwa sana kwa makini. Ni haki ya kila Mkenya kupata matibabu yoyote yale kulingana na maradhi ambayo yanampata. Maradhi ya akili yako na daraja, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sana naanzia katika usongamano wa mawazo. Yanaanzia mtu kusema peke yake, yanaanzia mtu kuwa na uzito wa jambo fulani linamshinda kulitekeleza, inamtokea mtu
anapigwa dafrau, ukifikiri hakuona, lakini akili yake ilikuwa haiko. Kama ingekuwa kila sehemu kumewekwa katika zahanati katika taifa hili, iko na madaktari wataalamu wanaweza kushughulikia hilo jambo, haya mambo yasingefikia pabaya. Lakini
we request the members to go to the point. With 1 minute, you can't say much. The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Mishi, for this opportunity to also just add my voice in support of this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, just to quickly mention, in this country, we only have 10 facilities that provide this mental health illness facility. And so the reason why this is very important is because we need to have access to mental health facilities closer to our people, because we have cases in which people feel shy off from either saying that they do have these issues, or they feel very stigmatized when they want to mention that they have mental related issues. And so this is very important for us, and I just really want us to ensure that this particular policy is implemented and it doesn't gather dust, just like all the other policies that we have in this country. And so I therefore support this motion. I submit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The motion is about integrating mental health care services in our health facilities. Mr. Speaker, we already have a policy in place. We only need to strengthen it and to ensure that they are functioning, it is implemented. Mr. Speaker, the fact that we have so many even like rehabilitation centers for the same and schools and units also shows that, Mr. Speaker, we really need people who are going to take care of these people who are suffering from mental health care services. We need really to make it stronger. Like in employment at the workplace, many of them are terminated just because of sickness, Mr. Speaker. These are the issues that we need to address. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Mr. Speaker, this issue of mental health, it has become a concern to all of us, starting from our homes, our institutions, and also in our security camps, because many people, we continue losing people at their homes, in schools, just because of hard time of economies in our country, which it has affected even to the level of each individual in this country. So it needs to be addressed at each level in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Was it Kibagendi, then Charity Katambi?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity for me to support this motion by Honorable Commissioner Mishi Mboko. I rise to support as a member and the chair of the caucus on drugs and substance abuse, where we have raised the issue of access to mental wellness care in this country. One of the greatest challenges this country has faced is lack of access to facilities that actually offer a holistic health care or comprehensive care addressing both physical and mental health. And this rise in mental health issues has become a major challenge in this country because of access and equity. Like the colleagues that have spoken,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I'm starting to support the motion by Honorable Mishi that we need to have mental health services in our health cares. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fact is most of the families are so much affected our youths are affected. But do we have the budget? This is the high time, members of parliament. We sat and made a decision that we need a budget in relation with how do we make it possible so that we can also have in every constituency that, Mr. Speaker, sir, we can have support for these matters of mental health services. Mr. Speaker, young people have been affected, families so much affected, our officers, every sector we have people affected. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the idea of every healthy facility to have a mental health services, it will really support this country. It will save a lot of youths.
Seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate all members and to say thank you for your immense contribution on this motion. And I just want to say that every one of us have agreed that it is high time that we have to do some intervention in terms of mental disorder. And that we have some policies, we have some laws, but I think it's high time we need to push for enforcement. We need to push for actualization of the policies which we have formulated in terms of mental disorder. Honorable Chairman, I've also learned that most of the counties, they don't have a standalone hospital for mental disorders, or rather a unit which maybe have some specialization. They have doctors, they have nurses, they have drugs, and they have good infrastructure. This is a big challenge which cut across all the 47 countries in our country, all 47 counties in our
Honorable members, the question on the motion under order number 12 will be put when it will be next. Can you reply?
Honorable Chairman, I beg to move and reply.
No. Just
I beg to reply.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. The question will be put for the convenience of the House to a future date when this matter will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 13, the Mung Beans Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2022, second reading.
No, the order number 13 will be stood down to the future date when it will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 14, motion 024/2023, policy and funding for sugarcane farming in the country.
The Honorable Peter Nabulindo, MP, to move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for giving me a chance to move this motion. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that, aware that commercial sugarcane production in Kenya was introduced in the early years of independence with an aim of eliminating dependence on sugar importation and contributing to economic transformation in the sugar belt and the country at large through agriculture, acknowledging that at its pinnacle, the sugar industry significantly contributed to the country's national gross domestic product, GDP, and became one of the largest employers which supported livelihoods of many Kenyans, both directly and indirectly, concerned that over the last 25 years, sugarcane farming, particularly in Western Kenya, has been declining significantly, thereby dipping sugar production from over 6,000 metric tons per year in the 90s to less than 3,000 metric tons in recent years. Noting that the decline in sugarcane farming has forced local millers to operate far below their milling capacities and pushed the country to over-rely on net importation of sugar, which negatively impacts on the balance of trade, noting that the decline in sugar production is attributable to factors such as mismanagement, interference, and unfair competition from cheap imported sugar. Further concerned that state-owned sugar millers like Mumias Sugar Company and Zoya Sugar Company ceased milling while owing farmers hundreds of millions of shillings. Appreciating that the government has been putting in place strategies, policies, and regulations to define roles of millers and major players and stakeholders in the sugar industry in a bid to revamp the sector, concerned that the acute shortage of sugarcane resulting from mass abandonment of sugarcane farming continues to roll back initiatives for reviving sugar milling. Recognizing that further investment in revamping sugar companies before reviving sugarcane farming will occasion loss of the invested public funds instead of yielding success. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, reviews the sugar development policies to provide that every investor or miller sets aside definite funds for development of sugarcane farming, incentivizing farmers to embrace sugarcane growing and to enhance cane production in each of the respective zones. Mr. Speaker, the essence of this motion is actually to empower the farmer. In recent years, we have had efforts. There have been very many efforts by the government, by the community, by various stakeholders to revive the sugarcane industry. But the reason why we keep on struggling to revive the sugarcane industry is because we have not empowered the farmer. We keep on ignoring the farmer. And I would like to go back to history. When sugarcane farming was introduced in Mumias, where I come from, I'm a product of the sugarcane farming. When sugarcane farming was introduced in Mumias by the then government and Buka Tet, who was the investor then, the first thing they did is they registered all the farmers who had land and actually went ahead and gave the farmers the inputs to enable the farmer to produce the sugarcane. First, they came and cultivated the land. First cultivation, then the second one, and then they did the harrowing, then they provided the farmer with seed cane, and they provided fertilizer for the farmer. That enabled the farmer to put the sugarcane growing into motion. Then they did not stop it that way, at that level. They went ahead and provided the farmer with extension services. The farmer was educated about how to tender for his crop. And they did not stop that way. After several months, they provided fertilizer. At that time, it was called urea, for top dressing to enhance the growth of the sugarcane. And later on, even during harvesting, they would harvest the sugarcane for the farmer and assist the farmer to transport that sugarcane from the farm to the factory. And the farmer would then go and sign his invoices and the checks later on. What is happening right now is that we are putting a lot of money in the factories. We are putting a lot of money in the milling centers, but we are forgetting the farmer. And without a farmer being empowered, the sugarcane industry will always struggle to stand on its feet. Right now, Mumias Sugar Company, there is a glimpse of hope. We have seen some small smoke coming out of it. But there is no impact to the farmer because the supply of sugarcane is not from Mumias.
Order, Honorable Oscar Nabulindo.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir.
You will have 25 minutes.
Yes.
When this particular motion will be next, scheduled to be transacted by the House Business Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The time has come for us to rise.
Let's be upstanding. Honorable members, time being 1:00 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 7th day of August 2024 at 2:30 p.m.